Wickets late on, as he had figures of 2 for 8 from his 5 overs. Archer, Fisher and Tung all took 1 wicket. And finally, now finishing with a couple of stories in tennis, and British number 5 Arthur Ferry has kept the home hopes alive at the Queen's Championships as he's moved into the quarter-finals after beating Adrian Mannarino. The world number 140 has reached his first ATP Tour quarter-final with a 7-6, 6-4 victory over the veteran Frenchman. And finally in tennis, and British stalwart Dan Evans will have to go through qualifying to make the main draw of the men's singles at Wimbledon after missing out on a wild card. The 36-year-old, who announced last week that he would end his tennis career after the Grand Slam, had hoped to receive one of the 8 singles wild cards to guarantee an emotional final appearance at his home Grand Slam. However, the final remaining places were awarded to British pair Harry Wendelken and Felix Gill on Wednesday. That's for now. We'll have more later. Here are your latest sporting headlines. I'm James Mason. We'll begin at football, and Fulham Vice Chair and Director of Football Operations Tony Khan says there are currently 2 standout candidates to replace Marco Silva, who have had several meetings with the board. It's understood the Cottagers have been advancing in talks with Alvaro Arbeloa, who spent the second half of last season in charge of Real Madrid. But in an interview with club media, Khan has suggested that there is no frontrunner for the job at this stage. However, he said that 2 candidates have met with the board several times. Sticking in football, and Rangers and RB Salzburg have completed a deal for Danny Roll to join the Austrian Bundesliga outfit. The 37-year-old will depart despite insisting he was committed to the summer rebuild at the Ibrox club. Also in football, and midfielder Bernardo Silva has joined Real Madrid on a 2-year deal, linking up with manager Jose Mourinho. Silva left Man City at the end of last season, bringing an end to a trophy-laden 9-year spell. Also in football, and Hull could face points deductions in the Premier League in the upcoming season. The Tigers have an overspend of about £6 million on their profit and sustainability calculation. Under the English Football League rules, that could lead to a 6-point penalty. Cycling now, and Belgium's Wout van Aert is set to miss next month's Tour de France with an elbow injury. The 31-year-old is a key rider for his team Visma alongside 4-time Grand Tour winner Jonas Vingegaard. Van Aert he suffered the injury after falling in training before last week's Tour of Rhône Alpes stage in France, and an infection developed in his elbow. Moving on to rugby union now, and Max Ojoma and Noah Kalouri will have the chance to press their case for test starts after being named in the England backline to take on a France 15 in a non-cap match in Van on Friday. Centre Ojoma scored a try and was named player of the match in the win over Argentina in November, but he's not played for his country since. 19-year-old Kalouri, who was spelled out his ambition to make his England debut this summer, topped the Prem Gallagher's season try-scoring charts and dominated opponents aerially in a sensational breakout season with Saracens. Cricket now, and day 1 of the second test of the Oval between New Zealand and England is finally poised after the opening day. New Zealand were put into bat after England won the toss, and they reached 291 for 7 at the close of play. Tom Blundell made the highest score of the day. He made 51. As for England, where their top bowler was Sonny Baker making his debut, he took 2 for 63, and Jacob Bethell picked up 2 cheap wickets late on as he had figures of 2 for 8 from his 5 overs. Archer, Fisher and Tung all took 1 wicket. And finally, now finishing with a couple of stories in tennis, and British number 5 Arthur Ferry has kept the home hopes alive at the Queen's Championships as he's moved into the quarter-finals after beating Adrian Mannarino. The world number 140 has reached his first ATP Tour quarter-final with a 7-6, 6-4 victory over the veteran Frenchman. And finally in tennis, and British stalwart Dan Evans will have to go through qualifying to make the main draw of the men's singles at Wimbledon after missing out on a wild card. The 36-year-old, who announced last week that he would end his tennis career after the Grand Slam, had hoped to receive one of the 8 singles wild cards to guarantee an emotional final appearance at his home Grand Slam. However, the final remaining places were awarded to British pair Harry Wendelken and Felix Gill on Wednesday. That's for now. We'll have more later. Here are your latest sporting headlines. I'm James Mason. We'll begin at football, and Fulham Vice Chair and Director of Football Operations Tony Khan says there are currently 2 standout candidates to replace Marco Silva, who have had several meetings with the board. It's understood the Cottagers have been advancing in talks with Alvaro Arbeloa, who spent the second half of last season in charge of Real Madrid. But in an interview with club media, Khan has suggested that there is no frontrunner for the job at this stage. However, he said that 2 candidates have met with the board several times. Sticking in football, and Rangers and RB Salzburg have completed a deal for Danny Roll to join the Austrian and Bundesliga outfit. The 37-year-old will depart despite insisting he was committed to the summer rebuild at the Ibrox club. Also in football, and midfielder Bernardo Silva has joined Real Madrid on a 2-year deal, linking up with manager Jose Mourinho. Silva left Man City at the end of last season, bringing an end to a trophy-laden 9-year spell. Also in football, and Hull could face points deductions in the Premier League in the upcoming season. The Tigers have an overspend of about £6 million on their profit and sustainability calculation. Under the English Football League rules, that could lead to a 6-point penalty. Cycling now, and Belgium's Wout van Aert is set to miss next month's Tour de France with an elbow injury. The 31-year-old is a key rider for his team Visma alongside 4-time Grand Tour winner Jonas Vingegaard. Van Aert will suffer the injury after falling in training before last week's Tour of Vendôme Alpes stage in France, and an infection developed in his elbow. Moving on to Rugby Union now, and Max Ujoma and Noah Kalouri will have the chance to press their case for test starts after being named in the England backline to take on a France 15 in a non-cap match in Van on Friday. Centre Ujoma scored a try and was named player of the match at the win over Argentina in November, but he's not played for his country since. 19-year-old Kalouri, who has spelled out his ambition to make his England debut this summer, topped the Prem Gallagher's season try-scoring charts and dominated opponents aerially in a sensational breakout season with Saracens. Cricket now, and day one of the second test of the Oval between New Zealand and England is finally poised after the opening day. New Zealand were put into bat after England won the toss, and they reached 291 for 7 at the close of play. Tom Blundell made the highest score of the day. He made 51. As for England, where their top bowler was Sonny Baker making his debut, he took 2 for 63, and Jacob Bethell picked up 2 cheap wickets late on, as he had figures of 2 for 8 from his 5 overs. Archer, Fisher and Tongue all took 1 wicket. And finally, now finishing with a couple of stories in tennis, and British number 5 Arthur Ferry has kept the home hopes alive at the Queen's Championships as he's moved into the quarter-finals after beating Adrian Manarino. The world number 140 has reached his first ATP Tour quarter-final with a 7-6, 6-4 victory over the veteran Frenchman. And finally in tennis, and British stalwart Dan Evans will have to go through qualifying to make the main draw of the men's singles at Wimbledon after missing out on a wild card. The 36-year-old, who announced last week that he would end his tennis career after the Grand Slam, had hoped to receive one of the 8 singles wildcards to guarantee an emotional final appearance at his home Grand Slam. However, the final remaining places were awarded to British pair Harry Wendelken and Felix Gill on Wednesday. That's for now. We'll have more later. Here are your latest sporting headlines. I'm James Mason. We'll begin in football, and Fulham Vice Chair and Director of Football Operations Tony Khan says there are currently 2 standout candidates to replace Marco Silva, who have had several meetings with the board. It's understood the Cottagers have been advancing in talks with Alvaro Arbeloa, who spent the second half of last season in charge of Real Madrid. But in an interview with Club Media, Khan has suggested that there is no frontrunner for the job at this stage. However, he said that 2 candidates have met with the board several times. Sticking in football, and Rangers and RB Salzburg have completed a deal for Danny Roll to join the Austrian and Bundesliga outfit. The 37-year-old will depart despite insisting he was committed to the summer rebuild at the Ibrox club. Also in football, and midfielder Bernardo Silva has joined Real Madrid on a 2-year deal, linking up with manager Jose Mourinho. Silva left Man City at the end of last season, bringing an end to a trophy-laden 9-year spell. Also in football, and Hull could face points deductions in the Premier League in the upcoming season. The Tigers have an overspend of about £6 million on their profit and sustainability calculation. Under the English Football League rules, that could lead to a 6-point penalty. Cycling now, and Belgium's Wout van Aert is set to miss next month's Tour de France with an elbow injury. The 31-year-old is a key rider for his team Visma alongside 4-time Grand Tour winner Jonas Vingegaard. Van Aert will suffer the injury after falling in training before last week's Tour of Vendôme Alpes stage in France, and an infection developed in his elbow. Moving on to Rugby Union now, and Max Ujoma and Noah Kalouri will have the chance to press their case for test starts after being named in the England backline to take on a France 15 in a non-cap match in Van on Friday. Centre Ujoma scored a try and was named player of the match at the win over Argentina in November, but he's not played for his country since. 19-year-old Kalouri, who has spelled out his ambition to make his England debut this summer, topped the Prem Gallagher's season try-scoring charts and dominated opponents aerially in a sensational breakout season with Saracens. Cricket now, and day one of the second test of the Oval between New Zealand and England is finally poised after the opening day. New Zealand were put into bat after England won the toss, and they reached reached 291 for 7 at the close of play. Tom Blundell made the highest score of the day. He made 51. As for England, where their top bowler was Sonny Baker making his debut, he took 2 for 63, and Jacob Bethell picked up 2 cheap wickets late on, as he had figures of 2 for 8 from his 5 overs. Archer, Fisher and Tongue all took 1 wicket. And finally, now finishing with a couple of stories in tennis, and British number 5 Arthur Ferry has kept the home hopes alive at the Queen's Championships as he's moved into the quarter-finals after beating Adrian Manarino. The world number 140 has reached his first ATP Tour quarter-final with a 7-6, 6-4 victory over the veteran Frenchman. And finally in tennis, and British stalwart Dan Evans will have to go through qualifying to make the main draw of the men's singles at Wimbledon after missing out on a wild card. The 36-year-old, who announced last week that he would end his tennis career after the Grand Slam, had hoped to receive one of the 8 singles wild cards to guarantee an emotional final appearance at his home Grand Slam. However, the final remaining places were awarded to British pair Harry Wendelken and Felix Gill on Wednesday. That's for now. We'll have more later. Here are your latest sporting headlines. I'm James Mason. We'll begin in football, and Fulham Vice Chair and Director of Football Operations Tony Carl says there are currently 2 standout candidates to replace Marco Silva, who have had several meetings with the board. It's understood the cottagers have been advancing in talks with Alvaro Arbeloa, who spent the second half of last season in charge of Real Madrid. But in an interview with club media, Carl has suggested that there is no frontrunner for the job at this stage. However, he said that 2 candidates have met with the board several times. Sticking in football, and Rangers and RB Salzburg have completed a deal for Danny Roll to join the Austrian Bundesliga outfit. The 37-year-old will depart despite insisting he was committed to the summer rebuild at the Ibrox club. Also in football, and midfielder Bernardo Silva has joined Real Madrid on a 2-year deal, linking up with manager Jose Mourinho. Silva left Man City at the end of last season, bringing an end to a trophy-laden 9-year spell. Also in football, and Hull could face points deductions in the Premier League in the upcoming season. The Tigers have an overspend of about £6 million on their profit and sustainability calculation. Under the English Football League rules, that could lead to a 6-point penalty. Cycling now, and Belgium's Wout van Aert is set to miss next month's Tour de France with an elbow injury. The 31-year-old is a key rider for his team Visma alongside 4-time Grand Tour winner Jonas Vingegaard. Van Aert he suffered the injury after falling in training before last week's Tour of Rhône-Alpes stage in France, and an infection developed in his elbow. Moving on to rugby union now, and Max Ujoma and Noah Kalouri will have the chance to press their case for test starts after being named in the England backline to take on a France 15 in a non-cap match in Van on Friday. Centre Ujoma scored a try and was named player of the match in the win over Argentina in November, but he's not played for his country since. 19-year-old Kalouri, who was spelled out his ambition to make his England debut this summer, topped the Prem Gallagher's season try-scoring charts and dominated opponents aerially in a sensational breakout season with Saracens. Cricket now, and day 1 of the second test of the Oval between New Zealand and England is finally poised after the opening day. New Zealand were put into bat after England won the toss, and they reached 291 for 7 at the close of play. Tom Blundell made the highest score of the day. He made 51. As for England, where their top bowler was Sonny Baker making his debut, he took 2 for 63, and Jacob Bethell picked up 2 cheap wickets late on, as he had figures of 2 for 8 from his 5 overs. Archer, Fisher and Tongue all took 1 wicket. And finally, now finishing with a couple of stories in tennis, and British number 5 Arthur Ferry has kept the home hopes alive at the Queen's Championships as he's moved into the quarter-finals after beating Adrian Manarino. The world number 140 has reached his first ATP Tour quarter-final with a 7-6, 6-4 victory over the veteran Frenchman. And finally in tennis, and British stalwart Dan Evans will have to go through qualifying to make the main draw of the men's singles at Wimbledon after missing out on a wild card. The 36-year-old, who announced last week that he would end his tennis career after the Grand Slam, had hoped to receive one of the 8 singles wild cards to guarantee an emotional final appearance at his home Grand Slam. However, the final remaining places were awarded to British pair Harry Wendelken and Felix Gill on Wednesday. That's for now. We'll have more later. Here are your latest sporting headlines. I'm James Mason. We'll begin in football, and Fulham Vice Chair and Director of Football Operations Tony Carl says there are currently 2 standout candidates to replace Marco Silva, who have had several meetings with the board. It's understood the cottagers have been advancing in talks with Alvaro Arbeloa, who spent the second half of last season in charge of Real Madrid. But in an interview with club media, Carl has suggested that there is no frontrunner for the job at this stage. However, he said that 2 candidates have met with the board several times. Sticking in football, and Rangers and RB Salzburg have completed a deal for Danny Roll to join the Austrian Bundesliga outfit. The 37-year-old will depart despite insisting he was committed to the summer rebuild at the Ibrox club. Also in football, and midfielder Bernardo Silva has joined Real Madrid on a 2-year deal, linking up with manager Jose Mourinho. Silva left Man City at the end of last season, bringing an end to a trophy-laden 9-year spell. Also in football, and Hull could face points deductions in the Premier League in the upcoming season. The Tigers have an overspend of about £6 million on their profit and sustainability calculation. Under the English Football League rules, that could lead to a 6-point penalty. Cycling now, and Belgium's Wout van Aert is set to miss next month's Tour de France with an elbow injury. The 31-year-old is a key rider for his team Visma alongside four-time Grand Tour winner Jonas Vingegaard. Van Aert he suffered the injury after falling in training before last week's Tour of Rhône-Alpes stage in France, and an infection developed in his elbow. Moving on to rugby union now, and Max Ujoma and Noah Kalouri will have the chance to press their case for test starts after being named in the England backline to take on a France 15 in a non-cap match in Van on Friday. Centre Ujoma scored a try and was named player of the match in the win over Argentina in November, but he's not played for his country since. 19-year-old Kalouri, who was spelled out his ambition to make his England debut this summer, topped the Prem Gallagher's season try-scoring charts and dominated opponents aerially in a sensational breakout season with Saracens. Cricket now, and day one of the second test of the Oval between New Zealand and England is finally poised after the opening day. New Zealand were put into bat after England won the toss, and they reached 291 for 7 at the close of play. Tom Blundell made the highest score of the day. He made 51. As for England, where their top bowler was Sonny Baker making his debut, he took 2 for 63, and Jacob Bethell picked up 2 cheap wickets late on as he had figures of 2 for 8 from his 5 overs. Archer, Fisher and Tongue all took 1 wicket. And finally, now finishing with a couple of stories in tennis, and British number 5 Arthur Ferry has kept the home hopes alive at the Queen's Championships as he's moved into the quarter-finals after beating Adrian Manarino. The world number 140 has reached his first ATP Tour quarter-final with a 7-6, 6-4 victory over the veteran Frenchman. And finally in tennis, and British stalwart Dan Evans will have to go through qualifying to make the main draw of the men's singles at Wimbledon after missing out on a wild card. The 36-year-old, who announced last week that he would end his tennis career after the Grand Slam, had hoped to receive one of the 8 singles wildcards to guarantee an emotional final appearance at his home Grand Slam. However, the final remaining places were awarded to British pair Harry Wendelken and Felix Gill on Wednesday. That's for now, we'll have more later. Here are your latest sporting headlines. I'm James Mason. We'll begin in football, and Fulham Vice Chair and Director of Football Operations Tony Khan says there are currently 2 standout candidates to replace Marco Silva, who have had several meetings with the board. It's understood the cottagers have been advancing in talks with Alvaro Arbeloa, who spent the second half of last season in charge of Real Madrid. But in an interview with club media, Khan has suggested that there is no frontrunner for the job at this stage. However, he said that 2 candidates have met with the board several times. Sticking in football, and Rangers and RB Salzburg have completed a deal for Danny Roll to join the Austrian Bundesliga outfit. The 37-year-old will depart despite insisting he was committed to the summer rebuild at the Ibrox club. Also in football, and midfielder Bernardo Silva has joined Real Madrid on a 2-year deal, linking up with manager Jose Mourinho. Silva left Man City at the end of last season, bringing an end to a trophy-laden 9-year spell. Also in football, and Hull could face points deductions in the Premier League in the upcoming season. The Tigers have an overspend of about £6 million on their profit and sustainability calculation. Under the English Football League rules, that could lead to a 6-point penalty. Cycling now, and Belgium's Wout van Aert is set to miss next month's Tour de France with an elbow injury. The 31-year-old is a key rider for his team Visma alongside four-time Grand Tour winner Jonas Vingegaard. Van Aert he suffered the injury after falling in training before last week's Tour of Rhône-Alpes stage in France, and an infection developed in his elbow. Moving on to rugby union now, and Max Ujoma and Noah Kalouri will have the chance to press their case for test starts after being named in the England backline to take on a France 15 in a non-cap match in Van on Friday. Centre Ujoma scored a try and was named player of the match in the win over Argentina in November, but he's not played for his country since. 19-year-old Kalouri, who was spelled out his ambition to make his England debut this summer, topped the Prem Gallagher's season try-scoring charts and dominated opponents aerially in a sensational breakout season with Saracens. Cricket now, and day one of the second test of the Oval between New Zealand and England is finally poised after the opening day. New Zealand were put into bat after England won the toss, and they reached reached 291 for 7 at the close of play. Tom Blundell made the highest score of the day. He made 51. As for England, where their top bowler was Sonny Baker making his debut, he took 2 for 63, and Jacob Bethell picked up 2 cheap wickets late on, as he had figures of 2 for 8 from his 5 overs. Archer, Fisher and Tongue all took 1 wicket. And finally, now finishing with a couple of stories in tennis, and British number 5 Arthur Ferry has kept the home hopes alive at the Queen's Championships as he's moved into the quarter-finals after beating Adrian Manarino. The world number 140 has reached his first ATP Tour quarter-final with a 7-6, 6-4 victory over the veteran Frenchman. And finally in tennis, and British stalwart Dan Evans will have to go through qualifying to make the main draw of the men's singles at Wimbledon after missing out on a wild card. The 36-year-old, who announced last week that he would end his tennis career after the Grand Slam, had hoped to receive one of the 8 singles wildcards to guarantee an emotional final appearance at his home Grand Slam. However, the final remaining places were awarded to British pair Harry Wendelken and Felix Gill on Wednesday. That's for now. We'll have more later. Here are your latest sporting headlines. I'm James Mason. We'll begin in football, and Fulham Vice Chair and Director of Football Operations Tony Khan says there are currently 2 standout candidates to replace Marco Silva, who have had several meetings with the board. It's understood the cottagers have been advancing in talks with Alvaro Arbeloa, who spent the second half of last season in charge of Real Madrid. But in an interview with club media, Khan has suggested that there is no frontrunner for the job at this stage. However, he said that 2 candidates have met with the board several times. Sticking in football, and Rangers and RB Salzburg have completed a deal for Danny Roll to join the Austrian Bundesliga outfit. The 37-year-old will depart despite insisting he was committed to the summer rebuild at the Ibrox club. Also in football, and midfielder Bernardo Silva has joined Real Madrid on a 2-year deal, linking up with manager Jose Mourinho. Silva left Man City at the end of last season, bringing an end to a trophy-laden 9-year spell. Also in football, and Hull could face points deductions in the Premier League in the upcoming season. The Tigers have an overspend of about £6 million on their profit and sustainability calculation. Under the English Football League rules, that could lead to a 6-point penalty. Cycling now, and Belgium's Wout van Aert is set to miss next month's Tour de France with an elbow injury. The 31-year-old is a key rider for his team Visma alongside 4-time Grand Tour winner Jonas Vingegaard. Van Aert, he suffered the injury after falling in training before last week's Tour of Rhône Alpes stage in France, and an infection developed in his elbow. Moving on to rugby union now, and Max Ojoma and Noah Kalouri will have the chance to press their case for test starts after being named in the England backline to take on a France 15 in a non-cap match in Van on Friday. Centre Ojoma scored a try and was named player of the match in the win over Argentina in November, but he's not played for his country since. 19-year-old Kalouri, who has spelled out his ambition to make his England debut this summer, topped the Prem Gallagher's season try-scoring charts and dominated opponents aerially in a sensational breakout season with Saracens. Cricket now, and day 1 of the second test of the Oval between New Zealand and England is finally poised after the opening day. New Zealand were put into bat after England won the toss, and they reached 291 for 7 at the close of play. Tom Blundell made the highest score of the day. He made 51. As for England, where their top bowler was Sonny Baker making his debut, he took 2 for 63, and Jacob Bethell picked up 2 cheap wickets late on, as he had figures of 2 for 8 from his 5 overs. Archer, Fisher and Tongue all took 1 wicket. And finally, now finishing with a couple of stories in tennis, and British number 5 Arthur Ferry has kept the home hopes alive at the Queen's Championships as he's moved into the quarter-finals after beating Adrian Manarino. The world number 140 has reached his first ATP Tour quarter-final with a 7-6, 6-4 victory over the veteran Frenchman. And finally in tennis, and British stalwart Dan Evans will have to go through qualifying to make the main draw of the men's singles at Wimbledon after missing out on a wild card. The 36-year-old, who announced last week that he would end his tennis career after the Grand Slam, had hoped to receive one of the 8 singles wildcards to guarantee an emotional final appearance at his home Grand Slam. However, the final remaining places were awarded to British pair Harry Wendelken and Felix Gill on Wednesday. That's for now. We'll have more later. Here are your latest sporting headlines. I'm James Mason. We'll begin in football, and Fulham Vice Chair and Director of Football Operations Tony Khan says there are currently 2 standout candidates to replace Marco Silva, who have had several meetings with the board. It's understood the cottagers have been advancing in talks with Alvaro Arbeloa, who spent the second half of last season in charge of Real Madrid. But in an interview with club media, Khan has suggested that there is no frontrunner for the job at this stage. However, he said that 2 candidates have met with the board several times. Sticking in football, and Rangers and RB Salzburg have completed a deal for Danny Roll to join the Austrian Bundesliga outfit. The 37-year-old will depart despite insisting he was committed to the summer rebuild at the Ibrox club. Also in football, and midfielder Bernardo Silva has joined Real Madrid on a 2-year deal, linking up with manager Jose Mourinho. Silva left Man City at the end of last season, bringing an end to a trophy-laden 9-year spell. Also in football, and Hull could face points deductions in the Premier League in the upcoming season. The Tigers have an overspend of about £6 million on their profit and sustainability calculation. Under the English Football League rules, that could lead to a 6-point penalty. Cycling now, and Belgium's Wout van Aert is set to miss next month's Tour de France with an elbow injury. The 31-year-old is a key rider for his team Visma alongside four-time Grand Tour winner Jonas Vingegaard. Van Aert, he suffered the injury after falling in training before last week's Tour of Rhône Alpes stage in France, and an infection developed in his elbow. Moving on to rugby union now, and Max Ajoma and Noah Kalouri will have the chance to press their case for test starts after being named in the England backline to take on a France 15 in a non-cap match in Van on Friday. Centre Ajoma scored a try and was named player of the match in the win over Argentina in November, but he's not played for his country since. 19-year-old Kalouri, who was spelled out his ambition to make his England debut this summer, topped the Prem Gallagher's season try-scoring charts and dominated opponents aerially in a sensational breakout season with Saracens. Cricket now, and day one of the second test of the Oval between New Zealand and England is finally poised after the opening day. New Zealand were put into bat after England won the toss, and they reached 291 for 7 at the close of play. Tom Blundell made the highest score of the day. He made 51. As for England, where their top bowler was Sonny Baker making his debut, he took 2 for 63, and Jacob Bethel picked up 2 cheap wickets late on, as he had figures of 2 for 8 from his 5 overs. Archer, Fisher and Tongue all took 1 wicket. And finally, now finishing with a couple of stories in tennis, and British number 5 Arthur Ferry has kept the home hopes alive at the Queen's Championships as he's moved into the quarter-finals after beating Adrian Manarino. The world number 140 has reached his first ATP Tour quarter-final with a 7-6, 6-4 victory over the veteran Frenchman. And finally in tennis, and British stalwart Dan Evans will have to go through qualifying to make the main draw of the men's singles at Wimbledon after missing out on a wild card. The 36-year-old, who announced last week that he would end his tennis career after the Grand Slam, had hoped to receive one of the 8 singles wildcards to guarantee an emotional final appearance at his home Grand Slam. However, the final remaining places were awarded to British pair Harry Wendelken and Felix Gill on Wednesday. That's for now. We'll have more later. Here are your latest sporting headlines. I'm James Mason. We'll begin in football, and Fulham Vice Chair and Director of Football Operations Tony Carl says there are currently 2 standout candidates to replace Marco Silva, who have had several meetings with the board. It's understood the Cottagers have been advancing in talks with Alvaro Arbeloa, who spent the second half of last season in charge of Real Madrid. But in an interview with Club Media, Carl has suggested that there is no frontrunner for the job at this stage. However, he said that 2 candidates have met with the board several times. Sticking in football, and Rangers and RB Salzburg have completed a deal for Danny Roll to join the Austrian Bundesliga outfit. The 37-year-old will depart despite insisting he was committed to the summer rebuild at the Ibrox club. Also in football, and midfielder Bernardo Silva has joined Real Madrid on a 2-year deal, linking up with manager Jose Mourinho. Silva left Man City at the end of last season, bringing an end to a trophy-laden 9-year spell. Also in football, and Hull could face points deductions in the Premier League in the upcoming season. The Tigers have an overspend of about £6 million on their profit and sustainability calculation. Under the English Football League rules, that could lead to a 6-point penalty. Cycling now, and Belgium's Wout van Aert is set to miss next month's Tour de France with an elbow injury. The 31-year-old is a key rider for his team Visma alongside four-time Grand Tour winner Jonas Vingegaard. Van Aert, he suffered the injury after falling in training before last week's Tour of Rhône Alpes stage in France, and an infection developed in his elbow. Moving on to rugby union now, and Max Ajoma and Noah Kalouri will have the chance to press their case for test starts after being named in the England backline to take on a France 15 in a non-cap match in Van on Friday. Centre Ajoma scored a try and was named player of the match in the win over Argentina in November, but he's not played for his country since. 19-year-old Kalouri, who was spelled out his ambition to make his England debut this summer, topped the Prem Gallagher's season try-scoring charts and dominated opponents aerially in a sensational breakout season with Saracens. Cricket now, and day one of the second test of the Oval between New Zealand and England is finally poised after the opening day. New Zealand were put into bat after England won the toss, and they reached finished 291 for 7 at the close of play. Tom Blundell made the highest score of the day. He made 51. As for England, where their top bowler was Sonny Baker making his debut, he took 2 for 63, and Jacob Bethel picked up 2 cheap wickets late on, as he had figures of 2 for 8 from his 5 overs. Archer, Fisher and Tongue all took 1 wicket. And finally, now finishing with a couple of stories in tennis, and British number 5 Arthur Ferry has kept the home hopes alive at the Queen's Championships as he's moved into the quarter-final.
Wraps up. Both sides are qualified for the knockout rounds as Haiti will finish bottom of Group C. Just between first, second and third between these two sides of Morocco will be played out this evening. Scotland coming off of that defeat to Morocco, they make 4 changes. Brazil 1 change from the dominant 3-0 win against Haiti to forced one for Ancelotti and co. Rafinha is out and Ryan is into the side, whereas for Scotland, Hanley, Tierney, Christian, Adams are out. McKenna, McLean, Gannon Doak and Shankland enter the 11. For the Tartan Army, it is Angus Gunn in goal. Back four of Nathan Patterson, Scott McKenna, Jack Hendry and skipper Andy Robertson. Kenny McLean and Lewis Ferguson are the 2 holders in midfield, with Ben Gannon Doak, Scott McTominay and John McGinn the supporting cast for Lawrence Shankland. Whereas for Brazil, Alisson continues in goal, same back four with Danilo, skipper Marquinhos, Gabriel and Douglas Santos, same midfield three of Lucas Paquetá, Casemiro and Bruno Guimaraes, and a forward three of Vinicius Junior and Mateus Cunha, who scored both in that 3-0 win, and Ryan enters the 11. The Cherries winger comes in for the injured Rafinha. Kick-off is coming up short. And it is a warm welcome to this evening's unofficial independent off-tube studio commentary as Group C wraps up as Scotland take on Brazil in Miami, as both teams are already qualified, but where will they finish in terms of 1, 2 or 3 in Group C? Not the first time these sides have met in the World Cup, of course. A storied history. Will the Tartan Army be able to beat Brazil and cause a bit of an upset against Ancelotti and co? Of course, they beat Haiti, lost to Morocco, whereas Brazil a dominating 3-0 win against Haiti. Underwhelming draw against Morocco, possibly. Should be an interesting one already. Cesar Ramos, the Mexican official, already involved and having a few words with former Hammer Lucas Paquetá, going down saying he's been elbowed, and catch one maybe there from Lewis Ferguson. Not a foul, I would have to say. We'll bring the lineups in a moment. If you missed them in the preamble, good few changes for Scotland, one for Brazil, and forced, unfortunately, with the injury to Rafinha. But it's myself, Lewis Rafterim, joined by James Smedley, take you through all the action this evening. As forward comes Scotland. Andy Robertson tries to fizz a ball forward into the feet of Shankland. It's cleared away only as far as McGinn. But James, a lot on the line this evening. I say both teams qualified, but they will want to come away with a win. Will both sides go into knockout rounds? Again, Brazil clearing it away. It should be an interesting one.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's tricky for Scotland to really maybe prepare for this game. They're on 3 points. They're one of only 4 teams, I believe, in third place of the groups who have won a game. So in theory, they were through as soon as they beat Haiti. But of course, you never know. This is a big game. I think this will be an easier fixture than the Morocco fixture that they lost 1-0 in. Brazil, I think, are there to be got at, to be honest. Of course, we're a quality team, but a lot of the preamble and the build-up to this competition had Brazil going through the tournament because they're Brazil. But unfortunately, in the modern game, that won't suffice for the major winners of the competition. They'll need to be at their A game, and I don't think they have been so far in the groups. Of course, that 1-1 opener with Morocco for the Brazilian side, again, was second best for the majority of that game. You do hope that maybe they can start to pull things together, at least from a neutral point of view, because they're on an entertaining side, of course. But for Scotland, it's a massive opportunity.
It really is. Just see a picture of David Beckham looking red as a lobster in Miami's Inter Miami owner. Brazil coming forward, of course, as well. As you said, not the Brazil we know of. I think there's a lot of quality players, but now Rafinha possibly injured for the tournament. That is a massive miss as well. Forward to come with Paquetá, tries to backheel it forward to Vinicius Junior. It's a nice idea, but poor execution. As I said, for Scotland, it's 4 changes as as a whole under pressure here. One of the players coming in. Hanley, TNA, Christian Adams has dropped out. McKenna, McLean, Gannon Doak and Shankland coming to the 11. It's Gunn in goal. Back four of Patterson, McKenna, Hendry and skipper Robertson. McLean and Ferguson, the two holders, with Gannon Doak on the right, McGinn off the left, with McTominay supporting Shankland. Leads the line for Steve Clark's side. As I said as well, Rafinha is out with that hamstring injury. Whether it's just this game, a week or so, it's very unknown. His tournament might be over for Barcelona. Weidman Ryan, the Cherries winger, is in for him. Alisson continues in goal. Back four of Danilo, skipper Marquinhos, Gabriel and Douglas Santos. Bruno Guimaraes, Casemiro and Lucas Paquetá as a midfield three. And a trio up top of Vinicius Jr., Mateus Cunha and Ryan. Vinicius scoring against Haiti, Mateus Cunha, the Manchester United man, with a brace, of course, against Haiti as well. So they'll have a bit of confidence coming into this game. Of course, as James mentioned as well, Morocco and Haiti is on at the same time, of course, into match day 3. All of the group games kicking off at the same time. So we will keep an eye on that game. It is another game on this service as well. The other game in Group C, and of course later on will be Czechia, Mexico to cover as well. So we'll keep you updated on that, but it is on this service as well, as is all of this World Cup. But it is goalless here in Miami. Scotland 0, Brazil 0. One welcome late, of course, here for us in England, where it's later evening in Miami. Forward come Brazil. Ryan swings one into the box, looking for the run of Vinicius Jr. Nowhere near enough on it. Bruno Guimaraes was there supporting as well, but Scotland really easily dealt with there by the Tartan army. And just out on the ball. Maybe McLean coming into the 11, a bit more of a controller in midfield. He's on the ball now, looking for options. McTominay, he's a bit more advanced. That's a heavy touch though. A bit more of an out-and-out striker as well, of a goal scorer. Shankland and Che Adams. Brazil knocking it around at the back. Haven't won the tournament since 2002 and have been pretty poor in the competition since then, especially for their lofty standards. As James already mentioned, kind of being favourites, so at least one of maybe the top 3 or 5, because they are Brazil more than anything. But each one of them as well, if we get an early goal in this game, could be the difference maker. The longer the game goes on at 0-0, regardless of the resultant scoreline, do you think that'll benefit Scotland? Do you think that'll frustrate Brazil? If we get to half-time 0-0, well, who will that benefit, would you say? Yeah,
definitely Scotland. They've come for a point, really. Of course, they want to win the game, but they've never beaten Brazil in their previous 5 encounters with the nation. It's many years gone now since that opening goal from David Neri back in 1982. He lost 4-1. They sort of put the beast in that game and then went on to get thumped, but only ever scored twice against Brazil in those 5 meetings. I think this is their best chance though. As mentioned, it's a fairly weak Brazil side. You mentioned Rafinha out as well, and when your top players, your top talents, Vinicius Jr., Cunha, maybe aren't firing, they of course have both scored out in the World Cup, but if they're not on form, you can see Brazil maybe being frustrated in this game.
Casemiro goes for a strike outside the area. Looks like, of course, playing in Miami this evening. Looks like he'll be playing his football for the foreseeable in the MLS with Inter Miami. Looks like that might be a deal struck, leaving the Red Devils Manchester United. He's scored a few goals outside the area in his time in England. Of course, at the moment, as it stands, Brazil will be top of the group on 5 points. Morocco on 5 as well, with Scotland on 4, Haiti on 1. Of course, with the draw against Morocco currently going on due to the bit of goal difference and the draw against Morocco, Brazil will top of the table. Ball at the back, it's a loose one. Vinicius Jr. picks it up, takes it past Gunn, and a mistake at the back. And in the 7th minute, Brazil latch on to a mistake at the back. It's poor from Hendry, trying to scramble away. Instead, he passes it almost to Vinicius Jr. And the Brazil man gets his 3rd goal of the tournament, I should say, for scoring both of the group games. Mistake at the back. And it's Brazil 1, Scotland 0.
Yeah, disaster start, as it was against Morocco. Conceded early on. This slightly later, but it is an absolute horror way to give away a goal in a game that, as I said, had so much promise for the Tartan Army. It's McKenna at the back there, gives that ball away. It's a pass to Gunn that's never really on. And Vinicius Jr., well, you can't give him that sort of opportunity. He goes round the goalkeeper Gunn with really good composure and then taps into an empty net. And it's a shocker really. It's McKenna, he's trying to play the ball forward in fact, and then it's closed down by Ryan. Deflection work to Vinicius Jr., and that's 1-0 Brazil. And football is a difficult game, but it can be made to look very easy sometimes, and it certainly was made easy for Vinicius Junior.
You'd have to say as well, Ryan is pressing McKenna down, but he's not pressing with a lot of intensity, is he? And Vinicius Junior is so cool and calm that I think a lot of players might have with gun trying to get there, taking a shot, and he might have blocked it. He just takes a touch, and it's an open net. He just rolls, and it's a lovely finish from the Real Madrid man. But that is the perfect start for Brazil, as James rightfully mentioned. Not as quick as what I think Morocco was, about 70 seconds or something very silly like that, but very, very early on nonetheless. And the Miami Stadium, it's about 50-50 packed of yellow and green and tartan, probably safe, at least on the pictures we're seeing. Of course, it is unofficial independent off-tube studio commentary, so we're just looking for the broadcast angle. There's a lot more yellow on our screens, doesn't mean there isn't tartan, blue and white in other areas, but that's the perfect start for Brazil, and as James rightfully said, not the start that Scotland will have wanted, and as I say, 3-3 for Vinicius Junior. And you spoke about players finding form. That's I know it's an easy goal for him, but now that he's 3-3, he's starting to find a little bit of form. And I think with Brazil, what they are so deadly at is having a lead and hitting on the counter. That's kind of what they have to do. Scotland out front foot inside, so it is uphill now for the Tartan Army.
It absolutely is. They've got to come out of the shell. They've got to come forward and try and create chances. They will have wanted to, as you mentioned, Lewis, maybe get into half-time at 0-0. That plan's out the window, and it's what they've got to do now. I thought they responded quite well against Morocco. They played fairly well in the second half, especially, just couldn't come up with the goal. They're going to have to win this game, and they've got 80 minutes to do so, which I guess is the upside to conceding inside 7 minutes.
You spot on there, at least they do have a lot more time. You'd rather concede in the 8th minute than the 80th minute, let's be quite fair. Right-hand side, Gannon Doak trying to get his first few touches. Last off of him as he was stretching for him. Trying to play for a throw-in for Brazil. 10 minutes on the clock here in Miami, and it's Scotland 0, Brazil 1. Vinicius Junior with his third goal of the competition mean that Brazil lead really, really early on here in Florida. Back it goes to Douglas Santos from that throw-in. Gabriel, he had a shaky start against Morocco, and as James did point out, they weren't very impressive against Morocco. They were against Haiti, but you would expect that. Bigger test as well this evening. One in the middle by McGinn, out to Robertson on that left-hand side. Back it goes into Hendry and now into McKenna. And what you would say is, maybe if you are Brazil, every time McKenna and Hendry, they're not ball-playing centre-backs, whenever they get on the ball, you will want to be pressing them as well. McGinn's playing off the left-hand side. I will say there's a bit of movement between him and McTominay. He's done that in the past for Aston Villa. Ball into the box, looking for McTominay. Be held on the headed battle between Ferguson and Ryan. And Ryan, even though he's 19 years of age and a winger, 6'1", comes away with the ball. This is where Brazil are so dangerous on the counter-attack. Cunha driving forward into Bruno Guimaraes, goes for a strike, it's blocked away. Bobbles up in the air from the double deflection. Scotland will come away with the ball, but that is where they're so dangerous, Brazil. Cunha played it into Guimaraes. Should he have played it into Vinicius Junior?
Well, I think that's certainly an option to his left-hand side. Brazil are finding so much joy now coming forward. Scotland look really open in that sort of the gap between defence and midfield. I think you should have your players like maybe McLean or Ferguson in that double pivot, dropping a little bit deeper, bridging that gap. But at the moment, here again we see Cunha, age of space, has a shot over the bar, but that is the sort of pocket of space I'm talking about, just opening up for Brazil all over the pitch. They don't have to get behind when they're being afforded a good 5 yards in front of them every time.
We'll say a shock at the moment in the other game. We're just seeing highlights of it. Haiti have taken the lead against Morocco. What a moment. Mateo Joseph, I'm right, is that the former Leeds United man? Mateus Joseph scoring at the World Cup. What a moment for Haiti. So early goals in both games in Group C. And at the moment, I really have to feel for Haiti because they're level on points with Scotland. The goal difference is the -2 right now, but who knows how the game goes on. Because Scotland beat them, Haiti are already out regardless. But Gannon Doak trying to get it behind. Good tackle there from Gabriel, and it falls for Douglas Santos. But even with Haiti, they're out. They know they're out. If you could say in this World Cup for Haiti, you will beat Morocco, who are a lot of people's dark horses maybe for this competition to go far to the semi-finals in Qatar, and you did finish level on points with a team that finished third, that would be a successful World Cup for Haiti.
Oh, it absolutely would. Third place now, only 2 goal differences behind Scotland in third in the group, and I mean, we've seen crazy things happen, but I can't imagine Haiti going to get many more goals in that game. I think even that is being generous. But I mean, I was looking at the the third place table, as well as Brazil have the ball on the halfway line with Gabriel passing to Marquinhos. Scotland perhaps now losing this game. Long ball at the top, so I'll break off, but it won't be kept in there by Cunha. Yeah, Scotland fourth as things stand, losing 1-0 in this game, but still to play are Democratic Republic of Congo. They have Uzbekistan, so if we're saying that's probably 3 points there. Ecuador have Germany, so that's probably not going to be all 3 points, but could potentially be. Senegal on 0 points, so that maybe shouldn't trouble Scotland too much if they can pick up a point here, but they have Iraq rather. If Senegal win comfortably, currently on -3, Czechia win playing Mexico tonight, and DR Congo beat Uzbekistan, that could be Scotland out of the competition, really. It is a lot tighter than I think many neutrals may have expected. Scotland, a goal for them is massive. That almost guarantees them to be going through to the next round. But you think goal difference, if they ended up losing 3 or 4-0 here, that could be them leaving the World Cup.
Yeah, it's absolutely monumental. So to a degree, a 1-0 loss isn't... If you go for it and lose 3 or 4-0, as you say, I don't want to be negative as part of Scotland, but losing 1-0 isn't actually the worst result in the world for Scotland. So then maybe if it gets to 2-0, you have to actually be more defensive than attacking. Poor play out from the back from Scotland. Gundo's just punt it long to the middle, and Casemiro wins it. 15 minutes into this game in Miami, Scotland trail 1-0 to Brazil after a mistake at the back from McKenna, pounced upon by Vinicius Jr., and it is the yellow and blue of Brazil who is celebrating Miami this evening at the moment. Early cross into the box. Too much on it there from Casemiro. Trickles out of play for a goal kick for Scotland, and I think they've responded well to going down, but we've only seen Brazil once realistically. Seen Vinicius Jr. scored 4 goals in his last 5 World Cup appearances. As I said, 3 and 3, and he was impressive in Qatar as well. Watching this mistake back, it is good pressing from Ryan. I think maybe Gunn, I'm not going to sit here and blame him, he's just trying to react and do what he can, but Vinicius Jr. too cool, calm and collected, and I think against a lot of teams you can make that mistake, and I know it's a tap-in to a degree, but I think it's more Vinicius Jr. just with a touch away from Gunn and opens it up. You just can't do that against, you've already spoke about it, but the dangerous players at Brazil, yes, they're not maybe the generation that they once were, but Vinicius Jr. is still one of the best players in the world. You can't, that's a mistake against others you might get away with. You can't get to Brazil.
Yeah, spot on. We've seen already the impacts of that goal being conceded on the Scottish defence. They were playing out for the back up until 7 minutes in. Of course, gave the ball away, conceded that horror start, and now it was that you mentioned Gunn going long, aimless clearance. They don't really look like they have a plan when they have to go long, and maybe that's something Brazil can capitalise on. If Scotland have the ball on the turnover around their own box, they're going long every time. Brazil step up, and then all of a sudden Scotland are being squished inside their own penalty area rather than just their own half.
Brazil do have the ball just outside their own penalty area. Marquinhos and Gabriel, they form quite a partnership, and at the moment Marquinhos has been around the national side for so long, well over 100 appearances, whereas Gabriel, of course it was Marquinhos and Thiago Silva for so long for Brazil. David Luiz in there as well, so Gabriel really not so maybe the last 18 months really one of the undisputed centre backs on the South American side, still knocking it around. Either side are pressing too high. Scotland still happy just to sit in there kind of a 4-4-2 mid block, waiting for Brazil to maybe open them up. Casemiro, Danilo is tucking very, very narrow, almost forming a back three that allows Douglas Santos, so it's whipped out to now on the left to sit a bit wider, means Vinicius Jr. can sit a bit more narrow on the pitch instead of holding too much of the width. We'll say again, against Haiti, Brazil played exactly how I expected them to do. They got the job done in the first half. I was rather impressed by Paquetá, I have to say, in a more box-to-box-like role. I thought the Hammers his last 18 months were really poor, not playing football in Brazil, and maybe on paper, this is no offense to Paquetá, he's a great player, on paper maybe he wouldn't be one of your first 3 midfielders for Brazil. You put someone else in there. But I wanted this against Haiti. He's got Guimarães and Paquetá, who played at Lyon together. Sometimes in international football, you have to take advantage of that. As here comes Cunha, still has the ball, trickles away from many a Scottish player. Danilo on the right side might go for a pop at goal here, puts it into the box, it's headed away. But kept in play here by Santos, yes he will. Back to the edge of the area to Vinicius Junior. Cuts back inside. Still going. Great tackle from Patterson. It will be a corner for Brazil.
Yeah, good challenge there from Patterson. Had to get it absolutely spot on because, of course, Vinicius Junior extremely dangerous running in behind, and if he gets it wrong, it's a penalty. He does just about win the ball and wins it cleanly. So, first corner kick of the game. Junior looking really dangerous, isn't he, when he's getting down that left-hand side?
I have to say that they're not the biggest side, but you've got Casemiro. He's on 9 headed goals for Manchester United in the past season. Gabriel, of course. And he's on the goalkeeper angle. The referee this afternoon, or evening if you will, Cesar Ramos, the Mexican official, having a few words right on the goalkeepers. Gabriel will be Bruno Guimaraes to take this in-swinging corner. Right arm up in the air, looks like it will be delivered right on the spot. It is headed away to the edge of the area. Kept alive by Paquetá, just puts it right up into the Miami sky. A mistake though of who's going to come away with the ball, put forward into Gannon Doug. Might be a break on here for Scotland, but credit to Brazil, they're all back in the shape, and Scotland have barely got players forward. Might be that defensive kind of mindset. Good play from Gannon Doug to feed it into the Napoli midfielder. McTominay. He's got space to drive into. He does, gets it all muddled up in his feet, loses the ball. Ryan picks it up. Great tackle from McGinn, but it gets bobbled off of his backside almost and makes its way into Vinicius Junior. He's driving forward with the Travella efforts. Goes wide of the mark. I think it's a bit wider than maybe I first thought originally, but they get you very spot on the counter. Every time they're coming forward, Brazil, they look ever so dangerous.
They do, and it's again Vinicius Junior. This time down the right hand side, makes a good run. It's really good endeavour from Brazil to win that ball back. Scott McTominay, not having the greatest World Cup really for Scotland, been really quiet in both of their opening group games, and again that's poor from him. Squanders possession on the halfway line. Ryan, really tenacious, wins it back, drives forward, feeds it into Vinicius Junior, who, as you say, with the Travella, ambitious but not too far away. A player of his quality can threaten from with any kind of shot, and with either foot really on his day, and it certainly looks to be his day at the moment, Vinicius Junior.
He's really finding some nice form, and it is a 4-3-3, but do you think as well at the same time it's almost 4-4-2 diamond-esque, isn't it, with Cooney dropping in and Ryan and Vinicius are very narrow strikers almost, but it is very fluid for Brazil, and again they're not this Brazil of the past. They've got some great players, I'm not trying to give them knock them or give them grief, but they are a side to me, they're a confident side. Once they get going, like you said, Vinicius Junior, they are hard to stop.
And, you know, as the sort of stereotype goes, they do play with flair. You know, when they're playing well, and this early goal will massively help the confidence. When they have the confidence flowing, they're a side that play with flair. I mean, you watch players like Vinicius Junior. Scotland aren't playing a low block here. They're fairly high in and out of possession. Vinicius Junior is happily taking them up on the offer of space, and every time he gets in behind, he's shimmying one way, then the other. Players like Ryan as well, still so young. His breakout season in the Premier League last year with Bournemouth, and he was fantastic in the Premier League, and again has had a good start to this game, grabbed the assist and scored that ball for Vinicius Junior. Don't need to mention the quality of players like Matheus Cunha, Bruno Guimaraes, Casemiro, Paquetá, players have all seen the Premier League, fantastic players, and when they're on form, they're on form. Ball inside now, looking for Cunha, is scooped away there by Hendry. It was a ball in from Ryan on the far side. Brazil swarming the Scottish at the moment.
Yeah, they're really finding the groove and playing some nice stuff, as James said. We're only a few minutes away from the hydration break, I will say. 22 minutes into this game, and Brazil, they're playing some good stuff now. Vinicius Junior pokes it into the box. Well defended, he's tripled up there basically by Ferguson, Hendry and Patterson. Back to good it goes, and they'll come away with the ball. As I said, it's still 1-0 to Haiti. What a big result that would be for them against Morocco. Would be a shock, and I'm sure Brazil are quite happy with that 1-0 win for Haiti. Of course, spoke about earlier, that's another mistake picked up on by Vinicius Junior, and it's 2-0 Brazil. 2 for Vinicius Junior, 2 mistakes from Scotland. They've been their biggest enemy so far. It's another mistake at the back. McKenna at fault for first, Hendry at the fault for the second, and again you cannot give sides of this quality opportunities like that. They will tear you apart. It is Vinicius Junior and Brazil 2, Scotland 0.
What are they doing? Honestly, what are they doing? Again, another mistake, as you say, playing out from the back. Another early goal now to add to the tally. 22 minutes played. It's Scotland 0, Brazil 2. Vinicius Junior with a brace, and again, one of the easier goals he'll score in his career. I mean, I keep saying that, and he keeps getting easy chances. Scotland are almost like a charity in defence out from the back. Hendry just so lackadaisical. Vinicius Junior nips in and nips it through the goalkeeper Gunn's legs. Hendry's almost fouling the Brazilian as well as he races through. Eventually falls over his own feet. It's it would be comic if it wasn't actually quite sad for all the Scottish supporters that have made the journey to America. But they'll be disappointed, disgusted at the opening start to this game again. That had so much promise for them. 1-0 loss to Morocco wasn't great, but they held them well. But this, a Brazil side that really were there to be got at, and they've been blown away early on. And it speaks to me of a massive lack of experience at a top-level competition such as the World Cup.
Well, I 100% agree with everything you said. I feel as well a bit for Angus Gunn, if I'm being bluntly honest as well. The keeper it is Scotland 0, Brazil 2. There is a VAR check on the goal. The only thing I could think possibly is it wasn't a malicious elbow from Vinicius Junior, but does he? I mean, it might be something else we're looking at here, but there's the left that he gets in front of Hendry. He might even get there, clip his left ankle before he gets the ball, as Hendry's trying to pass it back. That might be what they're looking at. There is a bit of an elbow as well that he catches. They're not showing the replay as far. Maybe because it's unofficial, independent, off-tube studio commentary. We're just seeing what we see on the pictures. We don't hear what the referee says or hearing what the VAR room is saying. We're just seeing VAR review goal. Is it possibly maybe the clip of it? I don't think it's a foul, but is that what they're looking at, do you believe?
Well, we'll just see what the referee's going to give it. I think he's going to rule this out. The referee motions for VAR. He's going to have a little chat now, but obviously we can't hear that.
Yes.
If they rule this out, that is an absolute joke. All Vinicius Junior does is stick his leg in front of Hendry to win the ball. He's disallowed the goal, I think. Oh, that's an absolute joke, that. Sorry, that is ridiculous. Hendry sleepwalking at the back. Vinicius Junior puts his left leg in front of Hendry, but the Scottish player, because he's in the motion of passing the ball, kicks Vinicius Junior and then takes himself out. There's no foul in there at all for me. And I think that's a terrible decision from VAR, but that's an absolute lifeline for Scotland, who don't deserve one.
No, it is a lifeline. The Scotland fans are celebrating if they've scored. I don't blame them. As a Scottish fan, you've got to take that as, is that our piece of luck that we just get away with? Everyone gets a bit of luck in knockout and group competitions. There's a bit of luck there for the Titan Army. And James, what you said exactly right. Vinicius Junior is stretching to get the ball. He doesn't foul Hendry. Hendry pulls his leg back to pass the ball, and he's so nonchalant, as you said. It's such a slow motion that Vinicius Junior nips his leg in front. If anything, the question for me would be, we have just gone into hydration break. It is Scotland 0, Brazil 1. If you are joining, you're not missing anything. If Vinicius Junior goes down, then that would be a foul.
Yeah, you're spot on. That's why it is such a ridiculous decision, because you're right. If Vinicius Junior goes down there, it's a foul from Hendry in behind Vinicius Junior. It's a great tackle in the press from Brazil's number 7, who will feel, I think, rightly aggrieved that goal's been chalked off. I mean, there's a bit of an afters now with, I think that's Neymar kicking off with the referee. That's not too surprising, but in the hydration break now, 25 gone, Scotland 0, Brazil just 1 now after that goal being chalked off. Scotland have absolutely gotten away with one there, and if Steve Clarke is not shooting a firework up the backsides of plenty of their defenders, I don't know what he's doing, because it's been a shocking opening first 25 from Scotland, who should be worse for wear than just 1-0 down.
They should be very, very lucky watching the first goal back. I think it's a decent press from Ryan. I mean, it's lovely from Vinicius Junior. I think a lot of players probably take the first time shot and don't take that touch. I think that's just brilliant play from Vinicius Junior. I know he's not the greatest in the last year or two, maybe for Real Madrid, but my word, he's shining at this World Cup. And as you rightly pointed out, James, I just think he times his left leg for the second goal, the disallowed goal, to perfection, realistically, for me. If Hendry doesn't bring his leg back, Vinicius probably gets the ball anyway, so that's really, really unfortunate. Felt for Scotland for the first goal. They've got away with that second one. The balls are disallowed. Again, if you're joining hydration break, not missing anything, just watching the highlights, and that's one that I'll be interested as well to. I'm sure our colleagues will be watching at half time to see what everyone else thinks, because I just don't think. Again, we're watching it back. If as he clips him there, Vinicius Junior goes down, it's a red card for Hendry. And as you said, he was kind of fouling him anyway, wasn't he, as he was behind him. He lets go, but he was almost giving a bear hug to the Brazilian number 7. 27 minutes on the clock. It is also Haiti 1, Morocco still. Haiti 1, Morocco 0 still, of course, in the other game in Group C. 5 shots for Brazil, 1 on target. Scotland yet to have a shot at all. It's been poor for the Tartan Army in Miami. Just about to kick off the second quarter, if you will, halfway through the first half. It is unofficial independent off Tube Studio commentary. Scotland 0, Brazil 1. I'll pass you over to James, take us through to half time.
Cheers, Lewis. So yeah, I've been pretty critical of Scotland. I don't regret anything I've said. I think I've been spot on. Scotland need to respond. I mean, they had a small little flurry when going 1-0 behind around the 10-minute mark. I don't think they've had a shot in this game so far. They've not. They've had 48% of the ball, most of that being around their back line. I'll tell you, you don't want it there from what we've seen so far. The play now does resume. Scotland have a throw-in, I think, in line midway between the Brazil box. Plenty of players up there. Scott McTominay, the camera pans on, but again, he's been quiet. Andrew Robertson, the captain of his nation, plays a 1-2 with the throw-in. That'll go out. Is that a corner? It is a corner for Scotland. So perhaps now a chance out of nothing to at least get a good delivery into the area and test Alisson for the first time in half an hour. In that Brazilian defence, I don't think we've actually mentioned a name of any of them so far. The back four of Danilo, Marquinhos, Gabriel and Santos. They've not really had much to do apart from pass the ball to themselves and then play it forward. And that's been easy enough for them to do. So now a corner kick, as mentioned. It'll be Lewis Ferguson, I believe, to take it on that far side, number 19. Right-footed ball in, plays football in this area as well. Just a few of these Scotland players. Ferguson with the corner, not a great ball. Flipped over though by Cunha and then eventually headed away from danger somewhat by Gabriel. Ganadot picks it up, now it's with John McGinn. He's got a bit of quality in his left boot if he can find it. It's a great ball, back post, headed go up. Oh, they've made a meal of it though. I think there's two players who was clashing into each other at that back post. Not sure who it was, it might be McKenna leaping for it. Paquetá, I think, got the final clearance. That's a big chance and a great ball in from John McGinn.
Oh, you just said it. It is a fantastic ball. They need to do better there. To Scotland, they've got bodies at the back sticks as well, haven't they? And also, I think one player needs to read that I can't get the ball. Can I make a run into the back post? If it does find its way off of Brazilian heads, someone's got to read that a little bit better. I think as well, Ganadot is better off the right, but I think McGinn's better off the right, and he offers a bit more quality. I would be swapping them two if I could, but this is a good little spell for Scotland looking forward again.
They are with Patterson into Ferguson, and then sideways ball to Hendry, whose blushes were spared by VAR intervention minutes before the hydration break. Ball now back with Angus Gunn to actually make a save in this game, I believe. Right-footed ball over the top, looking for John McGinn. In fact, it was Andrew Robertson that had pressed high, but the header comes in from Danilo. That out of play for a Scottish throw-in. So a good chance there moments ago for Scotland. Still didn't quite make out who got the header away. I think it was McKenna, but he just completely misread it and ended up heading it parallel to the goal line rather than towards it. Alisson yet to be troubled between the sticks for Brazil. Perhaps that small chance will offer a glimmer of hope for the Scottish players and fans. You know, they have got quality in this team in the attack, or at least somewhat. John McGinn, Scott McTominay, these are big players playing in the Premier League, playing in Serie A, and they just need to deliver that experience maybe into a good performance against Brazil. I think a goal is the aim for Scotland. Brazil could score 2 or 3, but they have to score against Brazil's side, because otherwise going into the next round it's not going to matter whether they qualify or not. If they've scored 1 goal and it's against Haiti, the confidence in the attack that should be their best feature, it will be so low that I don't think they'll have any chance anyway. Here's John McGinn though. He is a player of that attacking quality. Lays it over to the left hand side for Robertson. He tries to scoop one out. That'll be a corner. He wants a handball. I don't think he's going to get one. He has a wry smile there with Danilo. I think both players knew that did not come off the Brazilian's arm.
I think as well, Danilo's probably thinking, I'd probably ask the question if I were putting a cross in on you. They both know their daughter, but you are right. This is where McGinn needs to step up and McTominay needs to step up. And it's like Brazil beating 83-0. It was impressive, but it's what they should be doing. Scotland beating 81-0. It's not as impressive, but it's what you should be doing. So you're right. If they'd have beaten maybe them 3 or 4-0, I'm a bit more impressed. But yeah, one goal. They weren't very good against Morocco until the last 10 minutes. Another corner though, and again, a very good spell for Scotland. This has got to be a better delivery from Ferguson though.
It does indeed. The chance came from a recycle corner. They want to go one better now. Ball into the front post. McLean's there, but he's not going to get there. Then it's headed behind towards the corner flag. McGinn gets there. It was Santos with the intervention. McGinn on the ball now. He's trying to get round Santos. He can't fashion room for a shot, but he can play a nice ball into Patterson. Can he find room for a cross? That is going to come off Paquetá. He will, assume, try and clear away, but he goes down. Again, it's another dive from Lucas Paquetá. Oh, that's good though. Routes it through the legs of the Scottish man, but he plays it straight back to Ferguson. Is he going to have a go? He is. Rifles one towards goal. It's deflected behind for another corner. That's 3 now for Scotland in as many minutes almost. Ferguson takes it upon himself to have a crack at goal. Scotland are growing back into this. I think that disallowed goal may well be the turning point in this game.
Maybe a real wake-up call, wasn't it? Because 1-0, you still got your 1-0 down, 2-0. You go from thinking we might be finished here to, oh my word, we've got a chance still. Again, that sums up Lucas Paquetá, doesn't it? Brilliant piece of play, then a poor pass. It just sums up the former Hammer to a degree where there's so much brilliance but a lot of inconsistency for him. But it's 3 corners in quick succession, much better delivery last time.
Will third time be the charm for Ferguson with this right foot in swinging ball? There are Scottish fans praying. Can their prayers be answered? Ball into the area. It'll come down for Gannon Doak. Can he find a strike? He won't get the chance to. I think a free kick's been given against Scotland for something in the build-up to that corner. Yeah, it's Hendry and Bruno Guimaraes both with arms around each other. It's one of them. This is why I think that new rule about intervening from corners will end up doing more harm than good, because everyone gives as much as they get inside the area. I think both players there have as much of each other's shirts as the other one does.
You spot that. It cons each other out, doesn't it, to me? And if anything, I think Guimaraes is the one who kind of throws himself a bit on the floor. Hendry's the one who just got hold of him, and Guimaraes just goes down. I think that's really, really soft. But Scotland still coming forward with Gannon Doak.
Gannon Doak now on the ball. He's got 2 to beat. He goes on the outside. Ball's into the area. Oh, no one there again for Scotland. It had fallen kindly. Here's Paquetá going shoulder to shoulder with Gannon Doak. That'll go out for a throw-in to Brazil. 34 on the clock. It is still Scotland 0, Brazil 1. That early goal in the 7th minute from Vinicius Junior after a mistake at the back from McKenna being the difference maker. Vinicius Junior thought he grabbed his brace, but that was ruled out after the VAR team had judged that Vinicius Junior fouled Hendry on his way to score his double. That VAR intervention disallowing the second Brazil goal has given Scotland belief. They've had 3 corners in quick succession. They've had a couple of chances from them, nothing clear cut. It's that belief that they'll take into half time if the score remains at just 1-0 to Brazil, or even if they do grab a goal before in the 10 minutes that remain before the break. Ball now with Marquinhos, the captain of his national side. You'll struggle to find a player with more career trophies than the Paris Saint-Germain centre half. He's on the ball at the moment again after exchanging a pass with Gabriel. Notably far fewer trophies in his cabinet, but he did have a Premier League medal at the end of this season. Ball through, that's a good touch from Ryan. Can he beat his man? He can't. Good defending there from Robertson, but they have turned it behind for, I believe, a corner kick. No, the referee says it's going to be a goal kick instead, and Ryan can't believe it.
It looked like a corner kick, at least from live view, but that's great for him. I think as well, I said this earlier, he's 6'1". You see a winger and you think maybe, 5'8", 5'9", quick whipping kind of player. Gannon Doak, Vinicius Junior-esque. He's so tall and strong, especially he's 19 years old. He's like Cristiano Ronaldo. He looks too big to be a winger. That was just great there. Watching it back, I mean, unless it does, I thought Robertson comes up. It's the clearest corner you'll ever see.
I mean, that one is comical. Ferguson has booted that out of play. Ryan's nowhere near it. The referee doesn't give it. Here's a shot coming in from distance from Kenny McLean. It almost fell for Scott McTominay, who again you wouldn't know he's been playing because he's hardly touched the ball in this one. Bruno Guimaraes into the feet of Gabriel. That pass over here, and Scotland now with a throw-in potentially to take quickly. Andy Robertson wants to get things going. He finds John McGinn, who made the initial run but then dropped back in line to receive the pass to Feet. Scott McTominay again back on the ball, feeds it through. Terrible pass, and that's cut up by Marquinhos. Well, I got slandered in the office before work today for saying Scott McTominay disappears in big game for Scotland. But I think, Lewis, you should be back in my corner at half time.
Yeah, you've indicated so far from his first 45, aren't you? It's one of them where, come the 90, I mean, first 45, you're completely right. He's been a passenger, if that's kind, isn't it, really, to the Napoli midfielder. If he comes up with the goods in the second half, that's a different story, but that's ifs and buts, isn't it? It might not happen. And similar against Morocco, I thought he played very good in the last, 10-15 minutes. And if he'd have scored, you can get away with not being at your best if you're going to come up trumps with goals for your side. When you don't, that's a problem. I think as well at Napoli, for being perfectly honest, again, I think McGinn, Ferguson and McCleary, this is not offensive, they're good players. Are they players of Napoli's quality? No, so McTominay's helped out, I think, a little bit there. And more the Manchester United McTominay shining through right now.
Absolutely, no one wants that, especially not Scottish Manchester United fans. Ball through the middle for Scotland. They're just trying to work it out with their own corner flag. Again, they won't want to dilly-dally on the ball too long, but they are doing so. Gannon Doak gives it backwards. Just clear your lines. Oh, has he gambled? Oh, nearly. I don't understand. I don't understand what Steve Clarke is telling his players. They've tried to play out from the back 3 times. Twice they've conceded. One time it's been ruled out. Again there, a ball across from Hendry to his goalkeeper that's never on. There's 2 players in yellow swarming in and they just about get away with it. It's got to stop though. They might not get the chance though. Ryan with a shot. Is that going in? No, it's not. It's wide of the mark. Brazil piling it on. Scotland have had their spell. Now it's Brazil's turn to just get with the tide.
And again, what Brazil do so well is they don't press too hard. They press when the defenders on the ball. They press in the right areas. But there's so much pace, power on the counter. And when you've got that midfield free, Casemiro's more of the just does the dirty work. Guimaraes and Paquetá can pick out a pass from anywhere, can't they? So that forward free is so dangerous when you've got those backing up. But you're right, I think international football for me, and we see it in club football now, you play to your players' strengths because you can't pick and choose who you're going to get. These are your best 2 defenders, pick them. Hendry and McKenna for me are good box defenders. They're good defenders. Are they good ball playing centre backs? No. But you've got to play to their strengths. And I look at what's Ancelotti done because of this Brazil side. He's playing to their strengths. That's what you've got to do in international football. Right now, Steve Clarke is. It's one of them. Are the players doing too much, or is this what Steve Clarke wants? And then you go, well, if this is what the boss wants, I look a little bit silly, but I've got to do what my coach wants.
Absolutely. Scotland now trying to come forward. Could be a crossing from Kenny McLean. It is. It's overhit. And we'll go to play, I think, for a goal kick. It will be a goal kick for Alisson, who finally gets a kick of the football. He's not had too many of them in this game. Ronaldo Nazario sat next to Arsene Wenger in the stands. Hands to a child with that infamous R-line haircut. I remember that one from lockdown, dark times. Alisson takes the goal kick short into the feet of Gabriel in this independent off-tube studio-based commentary of the FIFA World Cup. And as things kicking off here, Morocco just score. It's 1-1. They have literally just scored as I've looked. It's Hakimi. The game still, in this game though, an entertaining one. Yeah, ball now at the feet of Marquinhos. Looking for the pass through the middle for Casemiro. The Manchester United midfielder has seen somewhat of a renaissance in his last season for the Red Devils. The football did not leave him, as someone said in a bit of punditry. Ball now with Marquinhos into the feet of Paquetá. He's looking for Vinicius Junior. Most good players going through Vinicius Junior. But that's not to say Ryan hasn't also been stellar on the right-hand side. And you're right, Lewis. They are playing more of a 2 up top. Vinicius Junior and Ryan playing as left and right forwards rather than wingers, as a header goes back from Robinson into the gloves of Gunn. We've not really seen much of Cunha in this game. He's had 1 shot. He's not really been involved in playing. We've not really said his name much.
No, and he's almost a midfield 4, isn't he? He's at the tip of the diamond. It's almost, when I think of Ancelotti, I think of his Milan side, that midfield 3, and then you had Kaká as that number 10. That's what Cunha's almost playing, as you say, the 2 strikers up top with. Ryan's a little, I think it's one of them. Both Vinicius and Ryan are strikers, but if they want to go wide, they can. It's maybe one goes wide, one stays more central, and then Cunha drives forward. Paquetá's sitting a little bit deeper next to Casemiro, and then Guimaraes is giving a lot of freedom to drive further forward. We're just watching the Morocco goal. It's a lovely play on the left-hand side, and well, it's just bundled in the back of the net. What to feel for Haiti watching that one back, you'd have to say. As James rightfully said, Hakimi, the skipper, with the goal there, so saving their brushes. But I just think Brazil, they look relaxed, and as you said, I think Brazil are at the most dangerous, when you said earlier, when they're playing with confidence and flair, but when they're relaxed and there's no pressure on them, because that's when the real kind of positive mentality comes out of them.
Absolutely. I mean, there's so much quality on that bench for Brazil as well in the attack. You know, you've got Endrick, fantastic player. He's got 8 goals in 21 for Lyon on loan from Real Madrid this season. Igor Thiago, second highest goal scorer in the Premier League as well. But here's Matheus Cunha, who bends on wide of the post. 2 shots for him now in this game, and that's out for a goal kick. Yeah, Igor Thiago could come on, maybe just change the dynamic of the attack, move to a 3, give Hendry McKenna something to worry about right in front of their faces. Martinelli, of course, with his pace, and then of course you can't forget Neymar as well, who could feature for Brazil today for the first time since October 2023, which is pretty staggering when you kind of think of a Brazil. You associate them with Neymar since the turn of 2010, really. And at the moment, he remains on the bench. Ball dinked over the top, looking for Vinicius Junior. Hendry will have to be careful. This time he is. He's passes on the ball, then just sidestep through towards McKenna. Oh, that's a bit of a hospital pass. Good turn from Galandog, but didn't quite have the legs to then turn himself around Santos. Santos wins it back, gives it to Marquinhos, who gives it to Gabriel. Back to Marquinhos and back to Gabriel once more. Brazil on the ball inside their own half, and as you say, they've just looked comfortable really since about the 30th minute. Scotland has those few corners, balls swinging into the area that were dealt with one way or another by the Brazilians, and since that period, and especially the last 5 minutes, they've been really calm on the ball. They found it really easy to, oh my word, Haiti have scored. That is pretty astounding. It's Morocco 1, Haiti 2. Wilson Isidore has finally arrived for his new national team and has scored just before half time. What a game that is. I mean, on paper, I was pretty glad that me and you, Lewis, got put on Scotland-Brazil, but it looks like we might have drawn the short straw after all.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll have a word with our colleagues at half-time and say, right, I think you've had a better first 45 than we have. The first 10-15 minutes I thought were great in this game. Scotland had their opportunity, and you felt, as you rightfully said, once the goal was disallowed, the second one for Brazil, Scotland got that bit of a, right, we've got to do something. Now they're just sitting there, they're waiting for half-time, I feel. Brazil, rightfully so comfortable, as you say, knocking it around. They're like, well, we're 1-0 up. You've got to come at us. We'll pass it around all evening long in Miami, and we'll go party afterwards. We're happy right now, whereas Scotland already out of ideas.
They do indeed. Scotland have struggled in this competition really to create chances. I watched their opener against Haiti. I thought Haiti were actually better than them for the majority of the game. They didn't create chances. Just seeing a live viewing of that Isidore goal for Haiti, his first goal for Haiti, and I tell you what, that might be goal of the tournament from Isidore. It's a rocket from 25 yards out of nothing. I'd like some of that, please, in our game, footballing gods. Ball now with Marquinhos. He's over to the left-hand side for Gabriel. Gabriel has Vinicius Junior as a short option, utilises him, but it's only going to go back instead to Casemiro. His ball is raking over the top, not bad. Vinicius Junior will pick up the scraps, lays it over to the right-hand side for Ryan. Chance for Brazil now, into Junior. Ball over here, he cuts it back nicely. Oh, it's on the goal line, is that in? No, it's not. Turned behind at the death there by, well, he might have even been put behind by Cunha. I'm not sure how Vinicius Junior got to that ball. He did somehow cut it back, but there was no one on the goal line. I mentioned Igor Thiago. I think that's bread and butter for the Brentford striker. Cunha not quite able to turn it in, but a big chance again.
Yeah, in the build-up play, Thiago is second best to Acuna, and that's where Acuna really thrives. I mean, it comes off the left leg of Gunn, and that could have gone anywhere, realistically. But you are right, in terms of that cross back in, Thiago, he picks his space, his positioning is world-class. Is the Brentford man. Corner taken quickly.
Pakitano underneath it, scoops onto the back post. It was looking for Casemiro, who loves a headed goal, as you said, Lewis, earlier. He's not going to get to that one. It's wide of the mark. Morocco have equalised in that game against Haiti. So, all going well. Saibari scoring in that one. What a game. What a first half that is. 5 goals in the opening 45 across both games, just 4 of them being in the Morocco-Haiti match. And Haiti have gone out with a bang, which is good to see for them, even if they do go on to lose the game by any scoreline. It's Kenny McLean in the middle of the park. Now back to McKenna. This is football for Zagreb. Zagreb in Croatia. One of the more out there club football players in this Scotland side. I guess if you'd have said a few years ago that you'd have 3 players in the Scotland squad who played in the Serie A, that would also be pretty baffling as well. But the ball now at the feet of McKenna. As mentioned, 6 minutes added on at the end of this one. We've played almost a minute of that time. It's into Ferguson now. I think it's Hendry there pointing at Ferguson to move the ball a bit quicker. McGinn certainly doesn't. He's caught on it, but it'll bounce back towards Ferguson. I think it's a decent game for Scotland so far. Good touch from Shankland. Over to the left-hand side, it's Gannon Doak now. This is a chance for Scotland if they can get it right. Ferguson screams the ball. Gannon Doak hits it. It could fall back to him though. Chance for Brazil to clear the lines, and they do so. It was a big chance for Scotland there. But Gannon Doak, he's got to pull that back for Ferguson for me.
He's got to. And then when he ran in as well, he almost like lost his legs, didn't he? Here comes Scotland. It
will fall for McGinn, will it? No, it won't. Good defending there. At the death, really, from Gabriel. First time that Brazil's centre halves have been called into action, well, all game. So, in terms of football this evening and going into the morning, of course, as mentioned, covering Scotland versus Brazil, it's 1-0 to Brazil after that goal from Cunha, disallowed goal as well earlier. Also going on at the moment in Group C, Morocco just equalised again against Haiti. That game is 2-2. This evening, myself and Lewis will be covering Czechia versus Mexico in Mexico's curtain call in terms of their hosting of the group stages. And, yeah, plenty of football as Vinicius Junior goes down. Also in the early hours is South Africa versus South Korea tomorrow. evening, Curacao taking on Ivory Coast, and then Ecuador versus Germany as well. Before it's Japan, Sweden, Tunisia, Netherlands, Paraguay, Australia, Turkey, US, and Norway, France, along with Senegal, Iraq the day after that. So lots and lots of football. I think I'll be sad to see the group stages go of this tournament, because it is quite nice being able to wake up or go to bed and the football being on at either point. The ball now at the feet of Marquinhos, over towards the right hand side for Ryan, so maybe dig a cross out. He finds Guimarães, back to Ryan, good run from him, but Robertson does enough. Oh, it's a risky pass though, almost found Cunha. Big challenge goes in, it'll fall for Guimarães, just inside the area, scoots one out, looking for Vinicius Junior, goal! This one will stand for Brazil, and it is 2-0, just before half time to break Scottish hearts, and again, it's a soft goal.
What a ball that is to the back sticks for Bruno Guimarães into Vinicius Junior, and as I said, as you just said, he has his second now, doesn't he? He's on for a hat-trick. It wouldn't surprise me if he went and got one in the second half. The yellow and the green of Brazil, they'll be dancing at half-time. Again, you have to maybe say our cameras linger on Patterson. He's a full-back, and Vinicius Junior just gets away from him at the back sticks. Maybe Gunn as well. If he doesn't come and claim it, he's probably sat there and Vinicius Junior, he's headed into an empty net. If Gunn's on his line, he says, I can't get that, makes a decision. It's again, it's a poor pass, as you rightfully pointed out, and Cunha, what play from him to get that tackling to win the ball. Guimarães just gets his head up. Patterson as well, watching it back. The reason our cameras have lingered on him for so long is he keeps Vinicius Junior onside. If he steps up in the line, Vinicius Junior's off, and it's disallowed. I will say for, what is it, 5'8", 5'9", Vinicius Junior. I know it's a free header, but it's right place, right time. It's a decent one for what it's worth. And Brazil will, rightfully, maybe a bit of karma, I don't know, have that 2-0 lead, but the last, you rightfully point out, from the half an hour mark, they've been so comfortable, 2-0, that might already be game over. Yeah,
Neymar applauds from the bench, seeing his successor really take the throne at the FIFA 26 World Cup, and it is finally a brace for Vinicius Junior. He could have had a hat-trick, and really, in my opinion, I think mine and Lewis's opinion as well, should have had a hat-trick, and that goal that he scored earlier should have stood, but he won't care at the moment because he'll be hungry for the third goal. As a foul comes in there, that one against Scotland, so it'll be a chance for a ball into the area. Again, the Scottish fans not looking too happy at the moment. Some donning the pink strip, others the more traditional tartan blue. Whatever they're wearing, they're not wearing smiles on their faces, and I can tell you that for free. As Andrew Robertson will have a chance from this free kick to maybe turn those frowns upside down for Scotland. It'll be Robertson with a free kick from about 50 yards, 55 yards from goal. Plenty up for it to be the back, the two centre halves and McLean, part of that defensive shield, who have gone up for the corner. Let's go up. It might fall at the back post. It'll be a volley from Ganondok, blocked. It's a tame one really from Ben Ganondok, who plays it at times a little bit like a child. Lots of energy and exuberance, but I think slightly rushes himself at times, and he certainly snatched that shot on the edge of the area there.
He did, and I think that's been their thing, that they're that frantic in Scotland, aren't they, that they're not taking the time, and nearly come Brazil once again. Every time, we've said how many times we've said it, but every time Brazil come forward, you're thinking goal, aren't you? Especially on a counter. That's poor once again. Cunha into Vinicius Junior, they might make it free here. Yeah, fantastic flick from Vinicius Junior. Now it's Ryan. Oh, what a touch! Can he finish it? Oh, it's a good save. That deserved the goal. That is one of the best touches I've seen from Ryan there. It's almost Gaza against Scotland. This time it's Ryan, and he dinks it over the head of Hendry, but he needed the finish. Credit to the goalkeeper, Gunn. Came out really quickly and made the angle so tight. It was actually over Robertson, the captain. Needs a better finish. He does need a better finish. I mean, the build-up's beautiful, and then as you say, the flick over the top, that would have been one of the best team goals of the tournament. They've still got a corner to take as well. Indeed they do, an in-swinging ball then. Can they make it 3 before half-time? Free header, but he's missed it. It'll fall now though for Santos with the volley. That'll go out of play for a corner kick, I believe, to Brazil. But no, the offside flag, I think, is up. In fact, no, it's just going to be half-time. So it's been the Vinicius Junior show. Half-time, Scotland 0, Brazil 2. Thanks to a brace from Vinicius Jr., Brazil leads Scotland 2-0 at half-time in Miami. It's been a disappointing first half for Scotland. Vinicius Jr. pouncing on a mistake from McKenna in the first 7 minutes, rounding Angus Gunn and tapping into an empty net. He thought he had a second only a few minutes later, but a foul was given against him for taking away from Hendry. He did grab his brace, so in the last few moments, beautiful ball from Guimaraes, headed home by the Real Madrid man, and Scotland trailed 2-0 at half-time. Thanks to a brace from Vinicius Jr., Brazil leads Scotland 2-0 at half-time in Miami. It's been a disappointing first half for Scotland. Vinicius Jr. pouncing on a mistake from McKenna in the first 7 minutes, rounding Angus Gunn and tapping into an empty net. He thought he had a second only a few minutes later, but a foul was given against him for taking away from Hendry. He did grab his brace, so in the last few moments, beautiful ball from Guimaraes, headed home by the Real Madrid man, and Scotland trailed 2-0 at half-time. Thanks to a brace from Vinicius Jr., Brazil leads Scotland 2-0 at half-time in Miami. It's been a disappointing first half for Scotland. Vinicius Jr. pouncing on a mistake from McKenna in the first 7 minutes, rounding Angus Gunn and tapping into an empty net. He thought he had a second only a few minutes later, but a foul was given against him for taking away from Hendry. He did grab his brace, so in the last few moments, beautiful ball from Guimaraes, headed home by the Real Madrid man, and Scotland trailed 2-0 at half-time. Thanks to a brace from Vinicius Jr., Brazil leads Scotland 2-0 at half-time in Miami. It's been a disappointing first half for Scotland. Vinicius Jr. pouncing on a mistake from McKenna in the first 7 minutes, rounding Angus Gunn and tapping into an empty net. He thought he had a second only a few minutes later, but a foul was given against him for taking away from Hendry. He did grab his brace, so in the last few moments, beautiful ball from Guimaraes, headed home by the Real Madrid man, and Scotland trailed 2-0 at half-time. Thanks to a brace from Vinicius Jr., Brazil leads Scotland 2-0 at half-time in Miami. It's been a disappointing first half for Scotland. Vinicius Jr. pouncing on a mistake from McKenna in the first 7 minutes, rounding Angus Gunn and tapping into an empty net. He thought he had a second only a few minutes later, but a foul was given against him for taking away from Hendry. He did grab his brace, so in the last few moments, beautiful ball from Guimaraes, headed home by the Real Madrid man, and Scotland trailed 2-0 at half-time. Thanks to a brace from Vinicius Jr., Brazil leads Scotland 2-0 at half-time in Miami. It's been a disappointing first half for Scotland. Vinicius Jr. pouncing on a mistake from McKenna in the first 7 minutes, rounding Angus Gunn and tapping into an empty net. He thought he had a second only a few minutes later, but a foul was given against him for taking away from Hendry. He did grab his brace, so in the last few moments, beautiful ball from Guimaraes, headed home by the Real Madrid man, and Scotland trailed 2-0 at half-time. Thanks to a brace from Vinicius Jr., Brazil leads Scotland 2-0 at half-time in Miami. It's been a disappointing first half for Scotland. Vinicius Jr. pouncing on a mistake from McKenna in the first 7 minutes, rounding Angus Gunn and tapping into an empty net. He thought he had a second only a few minutes later, but a foul was given against him for taking away from Hendry. He did grab his brace, so in the last few moments, beautiful ball from Guimaraes, headed home by the Real Madrid man, and Scotland trailed 2-0 at half-time. Thanks to a brace from Vinicius Jr., Brazil leads Scotland 2-0 at half-time in Miami. It's been a disappointing first half for Scotland. Vinicius Jr. pouncing on a mistake from McKenna in the first 7 minutes, rounding Angus Gunn and tapping into an empty net. He thought he had a second only a few minutes later, but a foul was given against him for taking away from Hendry. He did grab his brace, so in the last few moments, beautiful ball from Guimaraes, headed home by the Real Madrid man, and Scotland trail 2-0 at half-time. Thanks to a brace from Vinicius Jr., Brazil leads Scotland 2-0 at half-time in Miami. It's been a disappointing first half for Scotland. Vinicius Jr. pouncing on a mistake from McKenna in the first 7 minutes, rounding Angus Gunn and tapping into an empty net. He thought he had a second only a few minutes later, but a foul was given against him for taking away from Hendry. He didn't grab his brace, so in the last few moments, beautiful ball from Guimaraes, headed home by the Real Madrid man, and Scotland trail 2-0 at half-time. Thanks to a brace from Vinicius Jr., Brazil leads Scotland 2-0 at half-time in Miami. It's been a disappointing first half for Scotland. Vinicius Jr. pouncing on a mistake from McKenna in the first 7 minutes, rounding Angus Gunn and tapping into an empty net. He thought he had a second only a few minutes later, but a foul was given against him for taking away from Hendry. He didn't grab his brace, so in the last few moments, beautiful ball from Guimaraes, headed home by the Real Madrid man, and Scotland trail 2-0 at half-time. Thanks to a brace from Vinicius Jr., Brazil leads Scotland 2-0 at half-time in Miami. It's been a disappointing first half for Scotland. Vinicius Jr. pouncing on a mistake from McKenna in the first 7 minutes, rounding Angus Gunn and tapping into an empty net. He thought he had a second only a few minutes later, but a foul was given against him for taking away from Hendry. He didn't grab his brace, so in the last few moments, beautiful ball from Guimaraes, headed home by the Real Madrid man, and Scotland trail 2-0 at half-time. Thanks to a brace from Vinicius Jr., Brazil leads Scotland 2-0 at half-time in Miami. It's been a disappointing first half for Scotland. Vinicius Jr. pouncing on a mistake from McKenna in the first 7 minutes, rounding Angus Gunn and tapping into an empty net. He thought he had a second only a few minutes later, but a foul was given against him for taking away from Hendry. He didn't grab his brace, so in the last few moments, beautiful ball from Guimaraes, headed home by the Real Madrid man, and Scotland trail 2-0 at half-time. Thanks to a brace from Vinicius Jr., Brazil leads Scotland 2-0 at half-time in Miami. It's been a disappointing first half for Scotland. Vinicius Jr. pouncing on a mistake from McKenna in the first 7 minutes, rounding Angus Gunn and tapping into an empty net. He thought he had a second only a few minutes later, but a foul was given against him for taking away from Hendry. He didn't grab his brace, so in the last few moments, beautiful ball from Guimaraes, headed home by the Real Madrid man, and Scotland trail 2-0 at half-time. Thanks to a brace from Vinicius Jr., Brazil leads Scotland 2-0 at half-time in Miami. It's been a disappointing first half for Scotland. Vinicius Jr. pouncing on a mistake from McKenna in the first 7 minutes, rounding Angus Gunn and tapping into an empty net. He thought he had a second only a few minutes later, but a foul was given against him for taking away from Hendry. He didn't grab his brace, so in the last few moments, beautiful ball from Guimaraes, headed home by the Real Madrid man, and Scotland trail 2-0 at half-time. Thanks to a brace from Vinicius Jr., Brazil leads Scotland 2-0 at half-time in Miami. It's been a disappointing first half for Scotland. Vinicius Jr. pouncing on a mistake from McKenna in the first 7 minutes, rounding Angus Gunn and tapping into an empty net. He thought he had a second only a few minutes later, but a foul was given against him for taking away from Hendry. He didn't grab his brace, so in the last few moments, beautiful ball from Guimaraes, headed home by the Real Madrid man, and Scotland trail 2-0 at half-time. Thanks to a brace from Vinicius Jr., Brazil leads Scotland 2-0 at half-time in Miami. It's been a disappointing first half for Scotland. Vinicius Jr. pouncing on a mistake from McKenna in the first 7 minutes, rounding Angus Gunn and tapping into an empty net. He thought he had a second only a few minutes later, but a foul was given against him for taking away from Hendry. He didn't grab his brace, so in the last few moments, beautiful ball from Guimaraes, headed home by the Real Madrid man, and Scotland trail 2-0 at half-time. Thanks to a brace from Vinicius Jr., Brazil leads Scotland 2-0 at half-time in Miami. It's been a disappointing first half for Scotland. Vinicius Jr. pouncing on a mistake from McKenna in the first 7 minutes, rounding Angus Gunn and tapping into an empty net. He thought he had a second only a few minutes later, but a foul was given against him for taking away from Hendry. He didn't grab his brace, so in the last few moments, beautiful ball from Guimaraes, headed home by the Real Madrid man, and Scotland trail 2-0 at half-time. Thanks to a brace from Vinicius Jr., Brazil leads Scotland 2-0 at half-time in Miami. It's been a disappointing first half for Scotland. Vinicius Jr. pouncing on a mistake from McKenna in the first 7 minutes, rounding Angus Gunn and tapping into an empty net. He thought he had a second only a few minutes later, but a foul was given against him for taking away from Hendry. He didn't grab his brace, so in the last few moments, beautiful ball from Guimaraes, headed home by the Real Madrid man, and Scotland trail 2-0 at half-time. thanks to a brace from Vinicius Jr. Brazil leads Scotland 2-0 at half-time in Miami. It's been a disappointing first half for Scotland. Vinicius Jr. pouncing on a mistake from McKenna in the first 7 minutes, rounding Angus Gunn and tapping into an empty net. He thought he had a second only a few minutes later, but a foul was given against him for taking away from Hendry. He did grab his brace, so in the last few moments, beautiful ball from Guimaraes, headed on by the Real Madrid man, and Scotland trail 2-0 at half-time. Thanks to a brace from Vinicius Jr. Brazil leads Scotland 2-0 at half-time in Miami. It's been a disappointing first half for Scotland. Vinicius Jr. pouncing on a mistake from McKenna in the first 7 minutes, rounding Angus Gunn and tapping into an empty net. He thought he had a second only a few minutes later, but a foul was given against him for taking away from Hendry. He did grab his brace, so in the last few moments, beautiful ball from Guimaraes, headed on by the Real Madrid man, and Scotland trail 2-0 at half-time. Thanks to a brace from Vinicius Jr. Brazil leads Scotland 2-0 at half-time in Miami. It's been a disappointing first half for Scotland. Vinicius Jr. pouncing on a mistake from McKenna in the first 7 minutes, rounding Angus Gunn and tapping into an empty net. He thought he had a second only a few minutes later, but a foul was given against him for taking away from Hendry. He did grab his brace, so in the last few moments, beautiful ball from Guimaraes, headed on by the Real Madrid man, and Scotland trail 2-0 at half-time. Thanks to a brace from Vinicius Jr. Brazil leads Scotland 2-0 at half-time in Miami. It's been a disappointing first half for Scotland. Vinicius Jr. pouncing on a mistake from McKenna in the first 7 minutes, rounding Angus Gunn and tapping into an empty net. He thought he had a second only a few minutes later, but a foul was given against him for taking away from Hendry. He did grab his brace, so in the last few moments, beautiful ball from Guimaraes, headed on by the Real Madrid man, and Scotland trail 2-0 at half-time. Thanks to a brace from Vinicius Jr. Brazil leads Scotland 2-0 at half-time in Miami. It's been a disappointing first half for Scotland. Vinicius Jr. pouncing on a mistake from McKenna in the first 7 minutes, rounding Angus Gunn and tapping into an empty net. He thought he had a second only a few minutes later, but a foul was given against him for taking away from Hendry. He did grab his brace, so in the last few moments, beautiful ball from Guimaraes, headed on by the Real Madrid man, and Scotland trail 2-0 at half-time. Thanks to a brace from Vinicius Jr. Brazil leads Scotland 2-0 at half-time in Miami. It's been a disappointing first half for Scotland. Vinicius Jr. pouncing on a mistake from McKenna in the first 7 minutes, rounding Angus Gunn and tapping into an empty net. He thought he had a second only a few minutes later, but a foul was given against him for taking away from Hendry. He did grab his brace, so in the last few moments, beautiful ball from Guimaraes, headed on by the Real Madrid man, and Scotland trail 2-0 at half-time. Thanks to a brace from Vinicius Jr. Brazil leads Scotland 2-0 at half-time in Miami. It's been a disappointing first half for Scotland. Vinicius Jr. pouncing on a mistake from McKenna in the first 7 minutes, rounding Angus Gunn and tapping into an empty net. He thought he had a second only a few minutes later, but a foul was given against him for taking away from Hendry. He did grab his brace, so in the last few moments, beautiful ball from Guimaraes, headed on by the Real Madrid man, and Scotland trail 2-0 at half-time. Thanks to a brace from Vinicius Jr. Brazil leads Scotland 2-0 at half-time in Miami. It's been a disappointing first half for Scotland. Vinicius Jr. pouncing on a mistake from McKenna in the first 7 minutes, rounding Angus Gunn and tapping into an empty net. He thought he had a second only a few minutes later, but a foul was given against him for taking away from Hendry. He did grab his brace, so in the last few moments, beautiful ball from Guimaraes, headed on by the Real Madrid man, and Scotland trail 2-0 at half-time. Thanks to a brace from Vinicius Jr. Brazil leads Scotland 2-0 at half-time in Miami. It's been a disappointing first half for Scotland. Vinicius Jr. pouncing on a mistake from McKenna in the first 7 minutes, rounding Angus Gunn and tapping into an empty net. He thought he had a second only a few minutes later, but a foul was given against him for taking away from Hendry. He did grab his brace, so in the last few moments, beautiful ball from Guimaraes, headed on by the Real Madrid man, and Scotland trail 2-0 at half-time. Thanks to a brace from Vinicius Jr. Brazil leads Scotland 2-0 at half-time in Miami. It's been a disappointing first half for Scotland. Vinicius Jr. pouncing on a mistake from McKenna in the first 7 minutes, rounding Angus Gunn and tapping into an empty net. He thought he had a second only a few minutes later, but a foul was given against him for taking away from Hendry. He did grab his brace, so in the last few moments, beautiful ball from Guimaraes, headed on by the Real Madrid man, and Scotland trail 2-0 at half-time. thanks to a brace from Vinicius Jr. Brazil leads Scotland 2-0 at half-time in Miami. It's been a disappointing first half for Scotland. Vinicius Jr. pouncing on a mistake from McKenna in the first 7 minutes, rounding Angus Gunn and tapping into an empty net. He thought he had a second only a few minutes later, but a foul was given against him for taking away from Hendry. He did grab his brace, so in the last few moments, beautiful ball from Guimaraes, headed on by the Real Madrid man, and Scotland trail 2-0 at half-time. Thanks to a brace from Vinicius Jr. Brazil leads Scotland 2-0 at half-time in Miami. It's been a disappointing first half for Scotland. Vinicius Jr. pouncing on a mistake from McKenna in the first 7 minutes, rounding Angus Gunn and tapping into an empty net. He thought he had a second only a few minutes later, but a foul was given against him for taking away from Hendry. He did grab his brace, so in the last few moments, beautiful ball from Guimaraes, headed on by the Real Madrid man, and Scotland trail 2-0 at half-time. And it is a warm welcome back to this evening, going into the morning's unofficial independent off-tube studio commentary of all the action from Group C matchday 3 in Miami as Scotland take on Brazil, and it is an uphill task for the Tartan Army in the second half. It is Scotland 0, Brazil 2, a Vinicius Junior brace, a difference maker. Brazil, they haven't really been tested at all by Scotland in an attacking sense. The disallowed goal as well for Brazil in the first half, very unrightfully so. So as myself and my co-coms, and I can imagine a lot of people do believe Vinicius Junior probably should have a hat-trick at this point. But Scotland, they've got to respond in this second half. They have made one substitution at half-time. Andy Robertson, the skipper, has gone off, and Kieran Tierney has come on in his place. So it doesn't seem to be a tactical change, just the left-back off and the left-back on, if you will. Brazil, exactly how they started. Quickly then, it's Gunn in goal, Patterson, McKenna, Hendry and Tierney as a back four, McLean and Ferguson in behind McTominay, with McGinn, Gallen-Doak and Shankland at the forward players. For Brazil, Alisson in goal, back four of Danilo, skipper Marquinhos, Gabriel and Douglas Santos, Guimaraes, Casemiro, Paquetá midfield three, and a trio up top of Ryan, Cunha and the man on a hat-trick, Vinicius Jr. It's myself, Lewis Raftery. I'm joined by James Smedley, taking through all the action of the second half here in Miami. And it's uphill, massive mountain to climb for Scotland on the first half showing. Brazil might be very comfortable in this half. Scotland, they've got to give something else, they've got to give more.
They do. They've got to attack, of course, 2-0 down. But they've also not got to concede anymore, because as you mentioned, it is a bit of a stick or twist in terms of that third place, best third place teams. If they get thumped here and then a couple of teams below them, I'm mainly looking at Congo, DR Congo that is, and Senegal. If they both win their games comfortably, Scotland are out. They're coming forward here though. A goal would help, halve that deficit. 2 would be massively helpful. 3 would be, I think, a national holiday in the north of the UK. We'll have to see how the second half goes, but they offered nothing in that first half. Hopefully it changes. I don't think it will.
No, I agree. If it's on showing what we've seen in the 90 minutes against Haiti, in the 90 minutes against Morocco, and the first 45 here, you wouldn't expect so much as you said in the first half. We've only seen one goal for the Tartan Army, and that was against Haiti. But you'd expect Scotland to be winning that game, it has to be said. Speaking of Haiti, of course, the other game in Group C is currently going on. Some game you catch on this service, and an absolute belter between Morocco and Haiti. Currently 2 apiece. Haiti taking the lead twice, being penned back twice. Our colleagues are on that one, and of course at 2 o'clock, myself and James will be on the Czechia-Mexico game, as well as South Africa up against South Korea as well. That'll be the other game on at 2 o'clock. Catch both those games on this service. As I said earlier as well, of course, you can catch all the games from the World Cup on this summer on this service as we do round out the group stages and head on into the knockout rounds. Scotland are on the ball. McLean to Ferguson, McTominay, they've got to get him more involved. Same with Shankland. Ball passing to Gallen-Doak, it's fizzed to his feet again. Another player who I need something from. I feel the only player that I could say kind of was involved in the first half, maybe John McGinn. He's someone we mentioned a few times. Tierney into McGinn, back to the full-back, ball into the box. McTominay, header on target, but it's straight at the goalkeeper. A great leap and a great header from the Napoli forward, but he's got to pick out a corner.
Yeah, he does. His first involvement in this game and maybe in the World Cup, if we're being honest. And you're right, if it's either side of Alisson, maybe it's got a good chance of flying in the back of the net. Scotland's best chance of the game so far. Scotland's best chance since their goal against Haiti of the World Cup. That one, though, as we say, too central. And Alisson's first save of the game is a comfortable one.
It is straight at the Liverpool shot stopper. Fair enough if he goes one side or the other and it's saved, that's a different question. But at least Alisson's been tested now, it has to be said, by the Tartan Army. Brazil playing out from the back, that was where Scotland became their own worst enemy. Gabriel, you'd have to say though, these Brazilian defenders in Marquinhos, Gabriel, well, they're used to playing out from the back at club level. Perhaps McKenna and Hendry not so much. Marquinhos to the feet of Gabriel, just under 5 minutes into the second half. Scotland 0, Brazil 0. Back to Paquetá. He's dropping a little bit deeper, trying to get involved in play. Marquinhos looking to pick out Vinicius Junior. Nice idea. Execution not to the extent the PSG man will have wanted, and Scotland picked the ball up. Maybe they could hit on a counter here. Use a bit of space. McIndo holds it up and then slows it down. You were saying in the first half how a few players were looking at each other saying quicken up, quicken the pace. They need to take that risk. They need to up in the tempo. Do you think even get someone on to support Shankland as a ball comes into the box? I say that. It's not a good ball into the box, but Shankland was basically 3 against 1 there. Even if he comes away with the ball or a shot, it's not going to be one of high quality.
No, you're right. Just crowded out there by yellow shirts. If we look to the bench for Scotland, yeah, they've kind of favoured Lyndon Dykes being brought on. Steve Clarke seems to really like the EFL journeyman. Really played for Queen's Park Rangers and Birmingham City now at Charlton. There's a chance now for Vinicius Junior, blocked there and claimed by the goalkeeper Angus Gunn. Ross Stewart as well, of course, Sunderland and Southampton, I think, and I think Che Adams is the one to bring on though in attack. He's just a different profile to Shankland, and maybe the two could work off each other. Something has to happen though. I expect Ryan Christie to come on at some point in the near future, just maybe to freshen up that midfield an option instead of maybe Kenny McLean. Usually the substitute's the way around with McLean coming on for Christie. We yet to see any changes from Scotland so far.
We've only seen the TNT change. That's the only one so far, but nothing in midfield. As Jim says, that was a really good chance for Vinicius Junior. You're right, so with that, another big save from Angus Gunn. Of course, he made that brilliant save against Ryan at the almost like it might have even been the last kick of the first half, because I believe they had a corner, and I think the referee blew for the half-time whistle. As you rightfully said, James, it was Gaza-esque with the touch from Ryan, and maybe the strike could have been better if I'm being really critical of the Bournemouth winger, but I just thought it was a good save from Gunn, and exactly that is the same. A good save from him against Vinicius Junior. McTominay to the feet of Shankland. Lovely play here, goes down, shouts for a penalty, very soft. The referee this evening says Al Ramos, the Mexican official, saying get up there. They leave a lot of space in behind. Oh, here come Brazil. Great backtracking from Hendry, gets there first, plays it to Gunn, who dinks it over the top. I think he thought maybe Hendry was going to move back out. McKenna tries to keep it in play, but it goes out for a throw in there. Give it a bit of a mess up there. That was lovely though from Scotland on the right hand side. Patterson getting involved, Shankland as well, nice back heel. It's never a penalty, but that's what Scotland need, a bit of motivation and a bit of positive mentality.
Well, I thought it was the same sort of thing that happened against Morocco. They get into the good areas and then seem to fall over under any sort of physical presence at the back. Again, not a penalty, not that they were claiming for one, but it's just out-muscled and out-manned inside the Brazil area, and they have been every time they've gone into the final third. Brazil doing a good job of balancing defence with attack. They're certainly in counter-attack mode. Scotland are pushing men forward. Vinicius Junior on a hat-trick. Has lots of room in behind and almost got to the ball there, but it's led to a bit of Brazil possession from the throw in that came.
Just trying to slow it down a little bit. They were very in control of the game for a lot of the first half. There's a lot of movement as well on the Brazilian side. Basically, apart from the two centre-backs and Casemiro just sits in front of them, there is a lot of movement between Brazil. As Sophie James spoke about in the first half, a lot of times Ryan and Vinicius Junior are almost just strikers, split strikers, if you will. Vinicius Junior's on the ball, might go for a pop at goal, he does! It's a long range and effort. Imagine Wilson Isidor's goal at half time. I thought I'd like to score something like that. Straight at the goalkeeper though. It is still 2 apiece, I do believe, in the other game in Group C. Well, as I say, we'll bring all confirmation of any scoreline changes. There it is, just double check, it is 2-2. Between the two sides. Haiti have taken the lead twice, and as I said, Wilson Isidore, well, we saw at half time many times. I think you said James, probably goal of the tournament at the moment from the the Sunderland forward, absolute screamer, straight as an arrow into the top corner. I'm sure Scotland would love something of that quality as well, as they're knocking it around just inside their own half. Out to Patterson on the right hand side, to the feet of Ferguson. 10 minutes into the second half. Scotland 0, Brazil 2. Unofficial independent off Tube Studio commentary of all the action from Miami in match day 3 of Group C, as Scotland continue with the ball. Ferguson perhaps looking for that ball into the feet of McGinn. Step back to McLean. Shankland dropping deep. McGinn. Space on the left to Tierney. He put a great ball in for McTominay. Back centrally for McLean. Tierney getting a bit more involved than Robertson did. I don't know if that's maybe an injury. I don't know if it's fatigue. I'm not too sure. Scotland are slowing the game down, but because Brazil, they're not a high pressing team anyway, they're probably quite happy with this. We'll defend for a bit. Ball forward. Can it find the feet of Shankland? He knocks it on. Again, half shouts for a penalty there as McLean drove into the area. Big tackle outside the area coming in there. A free kick for Brazil. And again, that just kind of happened what you said. Good areas for Scotland, and then someone bumps into someone falls over. Can't keep the balance. He's into good areas. Nice. I don't think it was a real meant touch from Shankland. Just tried to get it further forward. But again, better areas, but still not making any chances, not getting a shot away.
Yeah, you're right. Still pushing for that goal to halve the deficit, but not really coming close to scoring it. No clear-cut chances aside from the McTominay header. Even that was a half chance. If we're being realistic, he did well to make something of it. The Napoli midfielder. Brazil having a comfortable time of it. It's been comfortable from minute 7 already since they got that gifted opening goal in the 7th minute. There's a 1-2 played. Ryan trying to get on the end of it. Tierney back, slides in. Puts it out play for a throw. And Brazil looking comfortable, but are pushing on for more. There are more goals in this game, I'm sure of that.
You'd like to think so. You spoke about Scotland getting goals. From a neutral point of view, but Scotland do get a goal, it will maybe bring a bit more life to this game. If Brazil grab a third, well, that's game done and dusted. And you've already rightfully spoken about the goal difference and that third place. Well, if Scotland do concede a third, you said it very early on as well, could mean trouble for them, and trouble is occurring now. Vinicius Junior, it's left by Guimaraes. Will Vinicius Junior get there? No, he won't. It's a good idea from the Newcastle man. Maybe if he could have just got a touch and back-heeled it back into him, that maybe would have been the better idea. But again, you spoke about it in the first half as well. Brazil, confidence, flair, that's what I want to see. That's what they're playing with right now.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying there. I think if Guimaraes there with his instep of his right foot just flicks it slightly, takes some of the pace of the ball, then that's 3-0 with Vinicius Junior almost getting there ahead of the goal in the first place. Never really seen a player pass themselves before, but that is sort of what Vinicius Junior did there inside the area. He's been on fine form in this game and since the tournament began, and looking for his 5th goal, I believe, of the World Cup as he pushed on for a hat-trick.
100% right. Got scored in the opening 2 games. His goal against Morocco, lovely piece of play that was. The goal against Haiti as well, just played in behind, lovely ball over the top from Paquetá. The Real Madrid man, and then he's had 2 great goals this evening. Well, he's had the ball on the back of the net 3 times, and 2 of course counting. Brazil moving it smoothly through the middle, out to Danilo on the right hand side, into Ryan. He's been ever impressive as the young Bournemouth winger. Back to Danilo, getting too far forward. It's really Douglas Santos on the left hand side who is one of venturing further forward as the full back. Paquetá did a run from someone, doesn't get it. Guimaraes, he's going to find Danilo. Too much on it, he's not going to find his full back there. Once again, good idea, just a poor execution. But Paquetá and Guimaraes, they're pulling the strings out there, aren't they, with the passing. Going to watch this opportunity back from Vinicius Junior from very early on. Unfortunately, you just feel that he gets away from Hendry, and then he just, as he goes for the shot, the ball just gets a bit away from him and bobbles under his feet. Yeah,
he's flicking at that with that outstretched right boot. He can only sort of toe it towards the left-hand side of Angus Gunn's sprawling body. He might be in behind again here. Ryan, great touch from him again. Cunha now sets himself. Strike comes in, blocked. Forced to the edge of the area. It's Paquetá looking to try shape an angle. Gets the shot away. It's wide, though. Brazil having a lot of chances in the last sort of 10 minutes.
Yeah, it's one of them, isn't it? You think Scotland, you spoke about bringing Christian in that midfield. I think you're right. Ferguson and McLean, and you pointed out as well in the first half, they're not sitting, but they're not supporting attacks, and there's then that space in behind, for example, McTominay and them 2, or the space in behind those 2 and the 2 central defenders. We've seen some famous there's Scottish faces in the crowd. They won't be happy with what they're seeing. If it was 1-0, you feel right, half an hour to go, we're just about to hit an hour on the clock, you might feel a little bit more comfortable, whereas at the moment 2-0, and as James said, Brazil getting a lot of chances, looking to make it 3-0. Be the evening in Miami that they will have wanted. Free kick against Shankland, won by Casemiro. Still a Manchester United player, at least for what, a couple more days, a week or so in Miami this evening. Looks like he'll be playing his football for, I believe he's in attendance, David Beckham and Inter Miami. So that's where the Brazilian midfielder is going, still keeping the ball. The leaders, Danilo. For options, Cunha dropping deep, first time pass into Paquetá, nice ball in behind to Guimaraes, comes away with it, goes through one-on-one, leaves it, and it's 3-0 to Brazil. Too easy. Guimaraes puts it on a plate for Cunha. It was a brace against Haiti, grabs his third of the tournament, puts Brazil 3-0 up on the hour mark. What a performance from the side from South America. Scottish hearts have been broken at the moment, and they've done the hour mark, and it's Scotland 0, Brazil 3.
Well, if it wasn't game over before, it is now 3-0, 3 goals, 5 stars for Brazil for the 6-time winning side. They've been fantastic in this game, and they've dismantled Scotland from start to finish, and that just another example of a Brazil side that are fighting for each other. You know, Guimaraes has the opportunity to shoot. I think he probably should shoot, really, but he plays the ball through into Cunha for what is then a certain tapping goal for him. Drags the 2 Scottish defenders, I should say, away from the run of Cunha towards him. There's 3 bodies in Scottish shirts, including the goalkeeper, all around Guimaraes. Cunha then slipped in for an easy finish, and that's 3. And that is game, set, match for Brazil, who now look to be topping their group.
Yeah, very comfortably. As well, of course, coming into this game, they were top due to a better goal difference than Morocco, level on points with them as it stands, with Morocco drawing with Haiti. Brazil will, on points, be above them anyway, so confidently flying into the next round, it has to be said. Brazil, and as it stands, of course, with sides to still play, of course, the last game for us Sunday morning will be the group ties. Brazil, at the moment, a lot to change, of course, on the 29th of June, with 4 days rest if it does work out this way. They will be playing Japan. That will be their game. That will be in Houston at a 6 PM kickoff English time. So that'll be interesting to see how they play there. And at the moment, Morocco, seemingly they will be playing the Netherlands on the 30th as well. That'll be in Mexico, in Monterrey. So that's how it does stand. Interesting. At the moment, Scotland, as it stands, again, as James has rightfully pointed out, with other third-place teams to play, there's always an opportunity that they don't play in the knockouts, but at the moment they'll be facing Mexico in Mexico City. How interesting this will be. Scotland coming forward. There's a questionable one here, as Danilo has gone through Tierney. What's the referee's decision? Looks like it is just outside the penalty area. First yellow card of the game going the way of the Brazilian Danilo. I'm surprised we haven't had more yellow cards. I'm assuming there's a lot of people who will have wanted them, if I'm quite honest, in a feisty game like this. What an opportunity this is. Game might be dead, but from Scotland's point of view, clawing some goal difference back could be vital. Yeah, absolutely. An opportunity now with this free kick, as you say, to get a decent ball into the area. Ferguson to take. He could go for goal. It could be a bit of both, really. Just hang it up at the back post and see what comes of it. He'll want to make sure it doesn't go into the grateful arms of Alisson, though. Just fizzes it in. Alisson will just tip it wide. And I think, as you said, that bit of both there, wasn't it? Just kind of maybe at the back post, aim for the goal. Keeper might make a mistake. Maybe one of my teammates again, he really hits it with some power and pace. Could have come off anyone there, and it will be a Scotland corner to follow up on. 63.5 minutes on the clock. Scotland 0, Brazil 3. Unofficial independent off-tube studio commentary of all the action in Miami at the moment. Brazil 3-0 against Haiti, repeating that performance. In-swing it to the back six. Ferguson goes up for a header. He's out-jumped by Danilo. Falls for Tierney on the left-hand side. Nice first few touches. That's a good ball into the box. McTominay header is there. Forces a good save out of Alisson. Second shot on target for the Napoli midfielder. Brazil clear it away. And very similar to when they went 1-0 down, Scotland, they kind of responded and had a good spell. They're kind of having that now, but you do feel at 3-0 it has a bit of a different vibe. That's a A poor pass, ball forward to Vinicius Junior. He looks well offside, and I think himself and the Scotland defence know it already. So that's unfortunately poor. He'd have been through for a one-on-one and a hat-trick. But from a Scotland point of view, maybe you think, oh, if we get one before the 70th minute, push for a second before 90, oh, we've got stoppage time then. The game's finished, but they could put a bit of pressure on Brazil maybe.
Yeah, and again, goal difference important in that best third place team group. I think they probably do need to score, if I'm being honest. I said that when they went 1-0 down, even regardless of the result. They're coming forward here. Patson could get on the end of it then, defending. It was actually Galen Doak running through, wasn't it? No changes really for Scotland to be seen. We've not seen them ready any substitutes on the near side touchline. We've not really seen any indication that they're going to make any other changes aside from the Robertson one at half time. Brazil also without making a change. I think if Brazil bring on some attackers, this game could get ugly for the Scottish.
I could see them maybe making them shortly as well. Vinicius on for the hat-trick, as we're just about to say that. They are at least going to make one change. Brazil. It's like it will be a double change, apologies. Casemiro and Paquetá will be leaving the field of play. Their job is done and dusted for the evening. Coming on in place of them will be Fabinho and Gabriel Martinelli. So an attacking change, you would say. Of course, Casemiro, Fabinho, that's like for like. Martinelli for Paquetá, that's probably means that Kim Mahrez and Casemiro might sit a little bit more, maybe even go 4-4-2 if you will. Vinicius up top with Cunha, Ryan off the right, Martinelli off the left. But you spoke about the explosive pace Martinelli brings. He's almost quite Rashford-esque in the sense of to be an impact substitute, and that's no knock at a World Cup to be that kind of profile. He's going to give Scotland nightmares on the counter, is the Arsenal. Yeah,
he is, and it is that going to be that counter opportunity for Brazil if they want to maybe hit Scotland for 6 with the score at 3 currently. Scotland are going to push on and keep pushing on, and I have all respect to them for that approach to the game. McLean is sitting as a part of a back 3 now with Tierney pushing up really high on the left. I'd have kept Robertson on, to be honest, and then played maybe Tierney advanced of him as like a winger, maybe John McGinn moving out to the right. You said he's better there, and I agree with that. Galen Doak, just give him free roam. It's just, I think it's been a little bit too conservative from Scotland in this tournament. They've tried a little bit too hard to keep the scoreline low, and as a result they've conceded early in the last 2 games and barely got over the line against Haiti in that 1-0 victory to start things off. I think sometimes as a smaller nation with less high profile players, they certainly have a couple, but you just sort of need to give the ball to your best players. Scott McTominay's been frozen out of all 3 games now. I think I can almost confidently say that with this game at 66 minutes in. He is the man you need the ball to. Same with John McGinn. Just give them the keys to the team and build it around them. I think trying to shoehorn players in to play a certain formation or play certain positions hasn't worked for them, especially not in this game.
I completely agree with you. I think even playing, I know sometimes a back 3, back 5 is negative. Even playing as you said, maybe Robertson and Tierney left centre back, left back, and having McTominay and McGinn as those number 10s with a striker, that's their best positions. 2 in behind, that means you get maybe Patterson overlapping on the right as well. And I think the one thing as well you'd say, in past tournaments we've seen a lot of the underdogs play really defensive football. I've seen Cape Verde play some good stuff this tournament. We're seeing going toe-to-toe Haiti with Morocco. They're putting a better showing on than Scotland, so it's more that we've seen a lot of teams go for this tournament. Scotland has, rightfully say, more of a defensive-minded kind of setup and approach. Well, forward, Guimaraes can't keep that one in play, out for a throw-in. And it's one of them, isn't it? We've seen Fabinho come on now. He's on that's like for like with Casemiro. We've just hit the 68-minute mark. It is Scotland 0, Brazil 3. Just going into a hydration break, and this could be a big 2 or 3 minutes for Clark to have a word with his Tartan army. But you see, again, you've already spoke about the bench. I'd love to see Endrick come on. He's absolutely electric. Whenever I do see him, you could see Thiago coming on. They've got a lot of depth, I think, as well. Neymar could come on to get a few minutes, just maybe in the legs, I don't know. Maybe Scotland might give him a kicking if he comes on, I'm not too sure. But they're a team for me of Brazil. They're not maybe at the heights that they were, but as a full collective team, I think they have quite a lot of depth to bring someone on. I would love to see Endrick come on and make an impact.
Yeah, totally agree. I mean, he's such a different profile at this World Cup, is Endrick. So young, but so much bursting acceleration, pace, but also a fantastic 2-footed player that can finish from almost anywhere, 30 yards from goal. I mean, we saw some of his screamers for for Lyon that he scored. For Real Madrid, it's not quite worked out as of yet, but of course, still, he's only 19 years of age. So there's still a lot to come from him. I think 7 goals in 40 for Los Blancos is still not a bad return for a child. But yeah, as I say, if he comes on, again, that's something different for Scotland to worry about, and Brazil have a lot that worry Scotland at the minute, notably the scoreline.
You have to say as well about Hendrick, as you say, he might be looking at Vinicius Junior going, look, we might be playing together next season at Real Madrid, and he spoke about his Lyon time. I think he could be a great player. Of course, you've got Mbappe to feature in that as well. The big rumour today, I did see about the performance from Vinicius Junior. You never doubt that. He's got a year left on his Real Madrid contract, and apparently Real would like to either sign a new deal, or we might have to move you on because we don't want you leaving for free next year. With performances like this, I know he hasn't had the greatest of times in the last maybe year or two at Real Madrid. There'll be undoubtedly a lot of suitors watching this and going, a year left, we can get you for a quote-unquote bargain deal. He could be on the move this summer, could Vinicius Junior.
Absolutely, and what a coup it would be for any team in the world, really, to have him playing for them. You wonder really where a player of his sort of notoriety could end up playing. I don't think there's a team in the Premier League that would take him on. He's just too big a profile, and that's not a negative thing at all. He's a player you need to build a team around. Real Madrid, of course, signing Mbappe, signing Bellingham, all these star players. There's almost too many in that crowd of big names. He needs to go somewhere where he is the main man, because he deserves that. He's a player good enough to be the focal point for a team in its entirety. Seeing Neymar won't now, he certainly knows about being the one for the big occasion. Will he feature? I mean, there's 20 minutes left to play. He may well do so. I have to say, if he comes on and Hendrick doesn't, the 19-year-old might be thinking, well, what else can he do?
Yeah, no, that'll be the one. If both come on, I would like to see both come on, if I'm brutally honest. Watching the sidelines, seeing Andy Robertson, he's got his right ankle taped and iced up, so that might be an injury to look out for if at the moment as it stands. Scotland do make it into the knockout stages. But you are right about Vinicius Junior. Whenever I see Vinicius for Brazil, I go, one of the best players in the world. When I see Mbappe for France, one of the best players in the world. When I see them both play together for Real Madrid, it just doesn't work. We are back underway in Miami, 71.5 minutes on the clock. Hydration break done and dusted. It is Scotland 0, Brazil 3. Can Scotland put a bit of pressure on Brazil? Will Vinicius Junior find a hat-trick in the last quarter of this game? We'll have to wait and see. But as I say, Scotland 0, Brazil 3. And I'll pass you over to James to take us through to full-time.
Lewis Longboard on the left hand side looking for Kieran Tierney. He'll cross one in early on. That could fall for someone in Sartre. Might be McTominay, but he just diverts it over the crossbar after Shankland's effort was shanked into his path. McTominay, though, his third attempt of the game. 2 have been on target. That one's not, and quite crucially so, because it's about 6 yards out. If he could have directed that maybe into the top corner, Allison at the stretch might not have got there. We are going to see Neymar, and this is some moment for him. Hasn't played for Brazil since October of 2023. Now, almost 3 years later, he's going to come on against Scotland with Brazil 3-0 up in the FIFA 26 World Cup. That is staggering. 43 games he's played for Santos since rejoining them, and this will be his 129th appearance for Selecao. He could well score his 80th goal as well. He's on 79 at the minute, but a big occasion for him. Looking now at the current top 8 in third place rankings, Scotland are third from bottom. Belgium, though, I think they played New Zealand, I believe. You'd imagine that's 3 points. Cabo Verde may not pick up another point. They're both on 2, Belgium and Cabo Verde. So Scotland, the lowest side to have won a game, because obviously they're getting slightly pummeled here in this game against Brazil. But as mentioned, DR Congo have got an easy game coming up. Maybe if Senegal can pick up a victory, they'd go level and maybe have a better goal difference. I mean, there is still a lot of doubts whether Scotland can progress. If they concede again here, no, it's still on the way by McKenna to maybe give them a lifeline. Scotland, that's a poor pass from McTominay, and that's into John McGinn. Can he try and wriggle some room, as he so often does for Aston Villa? Plays it inside towards Kenny McLean. Just trying to work it into a pocket of space for a teammate. Finds John McGinn now. Kieran Tierney. There's McLean for company again. Finds him. Norwich City man will swivel. Play it to Ferguson of Bologna. Over his right shoulder is Patterson. Patterson made a good run there and still is in loads of space, but he's just not been trusted with the ball there, it seems, by Ferguson. Now it's into John McGinn again. Again over to Kieran Tierney. They can try and find room on the outside, but he's been shown there the whole time. And a corner kick he's won up against Ryan, still doing his offensive duties. Good performance from him, of course, and for the whole of the Brazil side. Scotland still applauding their players. 3-0 down, 15 minutes to go. And a corner kick for the Tartan Army to cheer for. Hopefully it's a good delivery. There are plenty of players in the area in that tartan blue shirt. Kenny McLean, Lauren Shankland, McKenna, all in vicinity. Ball comes in, Allison punches away with 2 hands. Player down for Brazil, I think it's Gabrielle. Scotland recycle the ball. Now it's Kieran Tierney. His ball to the back post. Looks worrying for a moment. Salakau can clear. Ball fizz back over the top. McLean's underneath it, heads back across goal. No one there to tap it in. It'll be another corner kick though.
Putting pressure on Brazil. That was a decent little back and forth from McLean there. But again, as you've said, his goal difference, isn't it? Even if you grab one and you lose by 2 goals, if you will, it's better than what it is, and maybe gives you a bit of confidence. I'm not too sure. But again, apart from that, you would say the second header from McTominay, Allison hasn't stretched for anything really so far, but he could from this corner.
So it'll be a right-footed in-swinging ball again for Scotland. It's well, almost easily dealt with, but in fact it's Lawrence Shankland on the swivel. Somehow managed to head it towards goal, and it's just over the frame of the goal. So on comes Neymar for Mateus Cunha. Plenty in the stands going crazy. Cunha all smiles. He knows how much this means to the number 10. And what a moment for Neymar. Returns to the national side after several years away and makes his appearance now in front of the adoring eyes of thousands, maybe even millions back home. Neymar on for the final 14 minutes of normal time. It is Scotland 0, Brazil 3 in this independent studio-based commentary of the FIFA World Cup. Scotland look to be heading out of the World Cup if results don't go their way in the coming days. That 1-0 win against Haiti is the straw they clutch on, looking to qualify in 3rd place. The ball now with Marquinhos over towards Gabriel. He's looking to try and give Neymar a first touch on the ball. Neymar is in space. Oh, Marquinhos thought about it. He'll go wide to Ryan instead. So I wonder what sort of formation is being played now by Brazil. I mean, Neymar up high. I wonder where he fits into this, if he's been given a free roam role. I'm not too sure.
Yeah, I think you're spot on. I don't know if it's him and Vinicius Junior up top, if you will, as you say, but then there's no, I mean, there doesn't have to be free up, but it's almost, there's no number 9, is there? So you're trying to create stuff, very almost Messi-esque, if you will, trying to, with Neymar, just, right, you just sit there, create for us. That's a late tackle by Danilo. He's already on a yellow card as well, I'm sure, the fullback, so that would definitely be, if he's not already on a yellow card, I think that's his warning, isn't it, that you're on one, I'm not going to send you off, but you've got to be careful. So I won't be surprised if he comes off. If I'm McGinn, though, I am saying that should be a second yellow card, and he should be off. And I know the 3-0 up at Brazil, 12.5 minutes to go. It'd be more for the rest of the tournament if you got someone sent off now, that you'd be just making a real rash and a bad mistake.
Yeah, I think it's a yellow card for me, but the referee disagrees. Brazil on the ball now. It's with Gabriel. Of course, missed that penalty in the Champions League final. Ball now with Fabinho. Gives it to Marquinhos. Over to the left-hand side now. Brazil will come with numbers as well. Neymar floating in the middle of the park. Finds him. Good ball inside again. Looking for Vinicius Junior, who's on a hat-trick. Bearing down on goal. Oh, he goes for the near post. I think it's been tipped round. It has. Corner. Good save from Gunn. And that was it for the hat-trick there for Vinicius Junior.
And that was a lovely ball from Neymar, wasn't it? And that's what he's so good at. He can pick out a pass, he can take it as man. Doesn't have that explosive kind of dribbling and pace that he once had, but his football in mind and the IQ and the balls he can play in are second to none. And again, I think if you play him as that Messi-esque role that Argentina do, he'll thrive. I like that Vinicius went early to the corner there. Here it comes. Indeed.
Heads go up, McTominay wins it. It could fall for Ryan. Just his touch lets him down there, which it hasn't all game. Is that a free kick the way of Scotland? It is. Oh, could be maybe a talking to from the referee. Let's see a replay of that Vinicius Junior chance. It was actually on target at that front post, and it is a really smart stop by Angus Gunn, who moves his feet quickly. He thought Vinicius Junior was going to bend it towards the left. Instead, he went at the near post, and he had to quickly shuffle back across and get down low to stop the Brazil number 7 from grabbing his hat-trick. Though there is still time for that. Fabinho on the ball. Inside to the feet of Marquinhos. Back to Fabinho now. It was a like-for-like change coming on for Casemiro. So 20 minutes or so ago. Scotland trailing 3-0. But they still push on. And, they're having to sit a little bit deeper at the moment. There's Ryan on the ball. Down the right-hand side into Neymar. What's he got in his locker? Tries to cut inside. Almost plays a 1-2 with the Scottish defence. It'll fall back to Guimarães. Neymar then on the ball. Can't make it stick. And I think the offside flag's gone up the way of Brazil. Bruno Guimarães is having a few whinges towards the referee for not getting a free kick for himself. I mean, it's a great moment for Neymar and all, but he's looked a bit like Bambi on ice since he came on.
Apart from that pass to Vinicius, he has looked a little bit just off it, hasn't he? And as you say, nearly 3 years since he played for Brazil. Of course, in that time, he moved in the summer of 23 to Saudi Arabia, picked up that really bad knee injury that 18 months it kept him out. Then you played in Brazil, not really to the highest level, so he's still trying to find his feet. Here come Brazil.
Indeed they do. Down the right-hand side, ball hooked across. Vinicius Junior's there! Oh, it's behind. It's a goal kick. It was the big chance for him. A fantastic ball. I think it's Danilo who's played it. It was Ryan charging forward, feeds it in for Danilo. His ball's inch perfect, but it's just behind Vinicius Junior, who made the run a little bit too eager. Double change for Scotland now. On is going to come Ryan Christie of Bournemouth, and also alongside him is going to be the number 24, Anthony Ralston, of course coming off the back of a dramatic title win with Celtic. His fullback teammate playing for Canada in this World Cup as well, Alistair Johnston. So Ralston and Christie both coming on. Scotland still has 2 substitutes remaining after making 3 total. And they've left it fairly late, I think you have to say, Lewis.
Oh, it's way too late, haven't they? Christie's more of a positive midfielder, isn't he? I'm surprised he didn't come on. Maybe at half time, I think, is when you make those changes. Realistically, Douglas Santos and Ryan are coming off as well. Alexandro, and it was nice to see Hendrick come. Alexandro, how long has he been about the Brazilian side, the former Juventus fullback? But you're right. I think at half time, if I'm Steve Clarke, that's when you got to make the changes. You're 2-0 down and just go for it a little bit more. Apart from the spell they had when they conceded the third, it's kind of been the same, hasn't it, as what we've seen all tournament so far. But already, here comes Christie.
Oh, that's a bad foul from Fabinho. Is that going to be a yellow card? It is for Fabinho. It looked blatant. And it's, yeah, a yellow card, a second of the match now for the former Reds midfielder for Liverpool. Just clips the ankle of Kenny McLean. A bit of a needless one, really. Yeah, it brings it down his man. A free kick now for Scotland.
It's an opportunity, no doubt about it. So Fabinho, like you say, cynical, isn't it? Knows exactly what he's doing, does the midfielder. I'm sure if the man who came on for Casemiro would have done exactly the same thing. I feel those two carbon copies of each other, aren't there? And Brazil, I feel like if they get a young one of them, almost regen, they'll be over the moon. Taken quickly as his free kick, still a chance. Indeed,
chance now. Shot comes in. I think that's Ralston for his first couple of touches, trying to drive one forward, but he's crowded out. Scotland will try and come again. Ball from Tierney, swept over to the far side. Is that going to be kept in play with John McGinn? Fantastic first touch. That's Brazilian-like from the Aston Villa man. Alexandro keeping pace with him. Feeds it through the legs. It comes over McTominay on the swivel. Can he have his moment? Driving inside. Gabriel crowds him out. McTominay, though, does really well to put that back out towards John McGinn. Chops inside a little bit too much there, but keeps hold of the ball. Now back with Christie. Digs one out to the back post. Underneath it, Shankland. Shankland trying to nod it back. It'll fall for Tierney, but really good work from Hendrick. The 19-year-old tracking back. Gets there ahead of Tierney. He's been left in a heap. But now Hendrick will try and come forward himself. An all-action finale to this game. Another iconic fixture. Scotland and Brazil. It is Scotland 0, Brazil 3 in this independent off-tube studio-based commentary of the FIFA World Cup. The ball with Alexandro, you mentioned, how long has he been around? I think it is a pretty damning indictment of this Brazil side. Yes, they've got youth talent. They've got Ryan and Hendrick in attack, but they're still bringing on Alexandro in the big 2026. I mean, someone is failing at a youth promotion level in Brazil, because you need a bit better than that. I think Alexandro, he must be, walking up the tunnel with a walking frame these days. No offence to him, but he has certainly been playing for his national team for a very long time.
He has 35 years of age now. He's the former Juve man playing his trade in Flamengo. He was at Juventus for 9 years and at Porto as well. He's only made 45 appearances for Brazil. Of course, Marcelo was kind of the main man in that time. But you are right. I think if there's one position you would say Brazil are really weak at, you would say fullbacks. I feel that if I'm looking at Spain against Brazil and I'm looking at Lamine Yamal up against Douglas Santos and I'm looking at Nico Williams up against Danilo, that will be the worry for Brazil. And yeah, you're looking at the need a new left back and right back to spring from somewhere, as you say.
Yeah, Vinicius Junior still wanting that hat trick, driving it to comes off Christie for a goal kick to the Brazilians. They're in a replay now of the earlier Endrick challenge. It's pretty fair for me. I think Endrick wins the ball. Both players have the studs showing. Endrick, I think, gets all the ball, but they're asking the question of the referee, the Scottish, just in the aftermath. I don't think even they believe anything's going to come of it. Neymar with a corner kick. Is he going to go for goal? I thought he would, you know, when he lined that up, and I think he might be doing so. Shanklin heads it behind. Only Neymar could attempt something like that. Is it an Olympic goal, they call it, an Olympico? Scoring from a corner. I remember Di Maria doing it for his country, but Neymar now, surely he's not going to attempt it twice. There are plenty in the yard to aim at, and plenty will be annoyed if he does. Neymar swings one in, good ball to the back post, oh, chance! It's Gabriel with a scissor kick as he's on the floor. Thought it came off a blue shirt, but evidently not. It was taking the double kiss there of him. In fact, it was off a Kenner at the back for Scotland. Is that going to be a corner? It's a throw-in for Brazil. That's why the centre-halves hurried backwards. Danilo will take it now. Goes into Bruno Guimaraes, who's had a really good game, I think, in midfield for Brazil. He's really controlled the tempo well.
He has, I think this is what he's at his best. When he first came to Newcastle, he was a sitter, wasn't he? I think he's best when he's given that box-to-box role, and he kind of, especially in the start of the match when it was him and Paquetá and Casemiro sitting, allowing the other two to get further forward. He can play as a sitter, but I just think you lose that aggression, forward thinking that he does, of course. Just to have the wherewithal that when he was driving through, he still had the clarity, didn't he, to go, Cunha's to my right. He's just going to tap it in, basically, isn't he? He's going to be 3-0. What's still going to assist? They're the kind of players you want to play with, don't you? I can imagine that everyone's vouching for him to play after an assist like that. Yeah, he's been absolutely fantastic. I feel like he's the real heartbeat of that Brazilian midfield. Yeah, he absolutely is. He is the pendulum that sets the tempo for them. They need a dynamic midfielder. You know, he's so good in defence, but also really good with the ball at feet, and he holds on to it almost with magnetic tendencies. Going to be a good moment here, a wholesome moment, if you like. I think it's Finlay Curtis to come on for Scotland, 19-year-old, born October 2006. It looks as though he is going to come on in a moment. Of course, coming off the back of a fantastic season on loan at Kilmarnock, scored 5 and 14 for them. Plays his football with his permanent home at Rangers. It's Fabinho on the ball now, trying to work it over to the left-hand side. He's made 4 appearances for Scotland, Finlay Curtis. This will be his 5th and his, I think, most memorable one for him personally, coming on against Brazil. Ball with Kenny McLean now, trying to find John McGinn, does so. On the 1-2 though, both players, Kenny McLean and, is it Guimaraes, collide. Guimaraes offers a little push as an apology, I think. There's the ball now into Christie. For the goals they've conceded, I don't think Scotland have actually been defensively that poor. They've just conceded the 3 chances that Brazil should have taken and did. And mistakes at the back. Yeah. Really, as you pointed out, that's it, isn't it? And the first one, it almost set the tone, didn't it, to a degree. 7 minutes in, I'm not saying that you make a mistake on the 50th minute, but it set the tone for the game, then, didn't it? Second one disallowed. The third one, I mean, Ryan, if he'd have finished at that 3-0 at half time, probably game over, isn't it? You could argue as McGinn swings one in, striking straight at the goalkeeper. It's a scuff strike on the right hand side as Chadham's going to come on as well. You were screaming for him, what, half an hour ago to come on and add something. It's taken him too long to do so. But then even a second goal, you'd say Patterson was at fault, wouldn't you, as he kept Vinicius Junior on side. If he steps up, you go in into half-time 1-0, instead it's a bit of a kick to the gut that you're going in 2-0 down instead. Lovely playing link up between Vinicius and Neymar as Christie brings it in. The Barcelona and PSG winger down, he picks up a yellow card to boot as well. That's even that, he was quite cynical who brings him down. But Brazil have been, it's one of them, isn't it? Brazil have been good. It's job done, isn't it? I expected them to beat Brazil. I expected Brazil to beat Scotland, sorry. But it's down the knockouts, that's where they'll be tested. Yeah, absolutely. The ball comes in towards the middle of the 6-yard box, cleared away by Scotland. They were just 2 in yellow attacking it, but it's Neymar now. Strike on goal! It's on target, but it's at the goalkeeper, Angus Gunn, who holds on to it. That would have been a moment to save it for the 35-year-old. The ball now with Angus Gunn. Just to play clearance downfield towards Strengthen, who's not really been involved in this game at all. Morocco are 4-2 up, by the way. I'm not sure if I mentioned they went 3-2 up, but they now have a 4th. Again, plenty of goals scored tonight. The most goals they've been in simultaneous fixtures of the World Cup so far. 3 in ours, 6 in the other. Hoping it continues to the 2 AM UK time kickoffs that are going to be coming up in about an hour. For anyone braving the lack of sleep and wanting to listen to those as well in this service, me and Lewis will be covering Czechia versus Mexico in about an hour and 5 minutes time. Although this was expected to be the big fixture, and to be honest, it's not been quite as exciting as I thought. Brazil, of course, have scored 3, but Scotland have not really come near the Brazilians. No, they're not. I think it's one of them where have Brazil lived up to their end of the bargain? I think so. Have Scotland? No. You spoke about it earlier. They just, I think they're so defensive minded, aren't they? They don't want to take any risks. It's like, you've got to take some risks to a degree. Shankland and McGinn, 2 going off for Adams and Curtis, so actually double change. I think that's out substitutions as well for Scotland. So again, it's one of them. You go into the knockouts now as well. Well, if they do go into the knockouts with so little confidence and momentum, whereas Brazil, kind of the opposite, and they'll be flying to the knockouts confidence-wise. Yeah, they absolutely will. You know, this done wonders, I think, for their confidence, as you say, as the ball played over towards Tierney, headed behind for a throw into Scotland. 6 minutes added on. We've played a minute of that with those 2 changes coming on just a moment ago for Scotland. Again, more chances for them with the long throwing coming in. Is that going to fall kindly? No, Neymar gets there, plays it over, and now it's a 3v1. He needs to play the ball for Vinicius Junior. Oh, he's got it all wrong. It's a one-man wall there at the back for Scotland. It's Anthony Ralston, who was in a 3v1 with Neymar, Endrick, and I think it was Guimarães joining the attack, and somehow the attack comes to nothing. He wants to play with the outside of his right, but you've got to play with your left foot. Yeah. I know you see so many players one-footed. He had the strike with that Trevella-esque, didn't he? Earlier did Vinicius Junior. You've just got to roll that with your left foot, or just curl it round the player. You've got two players in forward positions. You don't have to pick one out necessarily. Ball over the top. Endrick will get on the end of this. He won't keep it in play. But again, he is a player. He's not in terms of a player. He's Neymar-esque. As soon as Hendrick's on the ball, you just feel something's going to happen. I know it's a cameo, not being able to do much, but he's just so fun to watch. He absolutely is. So Scotland now topping their group, despite Morocco's seems to be a hefty win, 4-2 over Haiti now. The Haitians putting in a fantastic performance in that game to be 2-2 at half-time and gone ahead twice against, as Lewis said in the first half, one of the favourites, dark horses of the competition. I guess you can even consider Brazil a dark horse, really, at this stage. Kind of counted out of it by many pundits and fans alike before the tournament started. But we've seen in this game from the ranked 6th in the FIFA ranking side, they do still have it in them to blow teams away with goals. Ball now over towards Endrick, and it's a chance for Gabriel. Lewis just doesn't want to talk to me now. A chance for Gabriel to play it into Fabinho. Now breaks for Guimarães, over to Neymar. And yeah, as I say, Brazil have shown they can score plenty of goals in this game against Scotland. They've created chances, they've taken them as well, which is more important. And if you get them star players firing, Vinicius Junior in fantastic form, maybe they can go a little bit deeper into this tournament than people expected. 100%. Sorry, no, I will answer your question now, James. Apologies. I thought you were just continuing. My bad, that one. I mean, again, to say Igor Thiago's on the bench, as you rightly pointed out, Again, what I like about Brazil, as we spoke about, is they've kind of got different profiles for different games, haven't they? If you've got Igor Thiago, if you've got a team that's going to maybe sit back a little bit in a low block, put Igor Thiago there, put balls into the box. There's a mistake at the back by Brazil. Scotland are going to win a free kick. And what, we've got 6 minutes on the time, 2 to go. Good to get a consolation goal maybe for Scotland. I mean, now as well, because you've already mentioned it in the first half about the top 8 teams and the third place teams going through. They'll be sweating now for the rest of the match day 3, and they'll be thinking, oh, like Lucy said, Senegal are bottom. I'd be expecting them to win their final game. I think they'll go up. It's one of them where, it started great beating Haiti. They lost to Morocco, isn't bad. Oh, we lost to Brazil. It could really end as a start to June that was great and a floundering end because they don't even make it to the knockouts.
Yeah, I agree. Free kick comes in, it's going to be stood over the bar. I mean, you look at that group stage as it stands now, Scotland losing 3-0, they have now -3 goal difference and 3 points. They have the lowest goal difference of any other side on 3 points. There are 4 other sides aside from the Scots, with Sweden, Croatia, Algeria and Paraguay 2nd to 5th, all on 3 and in descending goal difference. Bosnia on 4 points in their group with Qatar, Switzerland and Canada, the hosts. Just continue a second because the corner kick's going to be coming from Scotland. Head to go up, Alison doesn't get there. Can Ralston keep it alive? Sandro might clear his lines. Ralston picks it up, gets to the byline, cuts it back. Chance for McTominay, great save. Scott McTominay could have had a hat-trick in this game if not for great goalkeeping from Alison. That is 3rd shot on target of the match. That one perhaps the closest to ending up in the back of the net, but now forward come Brazil. Maybe I won't finish what I was saying in the end. Brazil coming forward on the left-hand side, 1-on-1 with Kieran Tierney. He's after his hat-trick now, he's the Real Madrid man, cuts inside, cuts outside, trying to feed the ball through, finds Neymar. Neymar now gives it back to Vinicius Junior. Snapshot blocked by Findlay Curtis. That'll be a throw-in for Brazil. But yeah, you look at that group, I mean, Czechia have Mexico this evening, Mexico on the beach, so could, well, I think they're playing a Koche in goal tonight, so again, could rotate players. Vinicius Junior now back inside the area, looking for his hat-trick. Can he find it? No, he's crowded out. Ferguson will try and clear, but it might fall to Guimarães. Free kick goes the way of Scotland. Yeah, DR Congo, Uzbekistan. Ecuador are probably the only side that are out of it on 1 point, playing Germany next after drawing with Curacao and losing to the Ivory Coast. Senegal then to play Iraq. Senegal are on the same amount of goal difference as Scotland with -3. Which essentially means if they win that game, they will go above Scotland on goal difference. I mean, it's all to play for Scotland, who will have a nervy, as you say, final watch-along for those third-place teams. But it is full-time in this game, and it has finished disappointing for Scotland. They've lost 3-0 to Brazil. And it's been an excellent performance from Carlo Ancelotti's men, who look like they're finally getting going for this World Cup. Full-time, Scotland 0, Brazil 3. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks to a first half brace from Vinicius Junior and a goal in the second half from Matheus Cunha, Brazil have beaten Scotland 3-0 in Miami to confirm their place at the top of Group C and fly into the knockout round. Scotland will have a nervy couple of days as they are 3rd place. Haiti are finishing 4th on bottom in the group, but considering the other 3rd place teams are yet to play, could be a sweaty and nervous couple of days for the Scots. Full time at Miami, Brazil win 3-0. Thanks to a brace in the first half from Vinicius Junior and Matheus Cunha grabbing his 3rd of the tournament in the second half. Brazil have beaten Scotland 3-0 in Miami this evening. It'll be a nervy few days for Scotland. Yes, they are 3rd in their own group, but a lot of teams yet to play, minus a 3-goal difference as well, isn't the best for the Scots, so it could be a nervy ending as they will look to climb to the knockout round. Brazil back-to-back 3-0 wins with confidence for them going into the knockout rounds.
Our next football commentary match is getting ever nearer, so why not take the opportunity of having a bet on the match? Whether you're interested in betting on the match result, the first player to score, the last scorer, correct score, double result, total goals market, handicap betting, or any other of our exciting market, it's fun to be involved. Don't forget, when the match kicks off, you can sit back and enjoy superb independent studio commentary while also enjoying our in-play betting opportunities. Good luck. Our next football commentary match is getting ever nearer, so why not take the opportunity of having a bet on the match? Whether you're interested in betting on the match result, the first player to score, the last scorer, correct score, double result, total goals market, handicap betting, or any other of our exciting